Hi everybody, it is about 8:30, maybe a couple minutes before. We had an earthquake at like 8:04, 8:05 here this morning. I'm sorry, I had not gotten up thinking I was going to be seen by today, so excuse my fashion. We had an earthquake, and I had been up and I had been doing some stuff, and I thought, I'm going to lay back down. I've had a lot of doctor's appointments, and I'm supposed to be back down the farm, but my aunt is staying through today, and then my brother's coming in tonight, so I have to stay here through Sunday night or Monday now. So I was like, I'm just going to go lay down and take a nap. I was like, I've had a big week. I'm just going to take a nap and rest before next week starts, because we've got a lot of health appointments with Mom next week. So I went and lay down. I was just in that state where you're like starting to fall asleep, as you can tell, because my eyes were getting fluffy underneath again, pudgy. And I was just in that state where you're starting to fall asleep. And all of a sudden, what up? Now, we've had a few earthquakes here before, one of which turned all the deer heads upside down on the wall. That was really eerie. That kind of freaked my kids out. This one was a big lurch, and it stopped. Which kind of makes me think there's going to be more, because normally we get the after effects that last about 20 seconds and they shimmy, but we don't get the big lurch. Nothing fell off the wall, nothing fell off any shelves. But my mirrors and photos were shaking when I woke up, and I thought we just had a freaking earthquake. So of course, you go on old Facebook, and yeah, everybody else felt it too. We had an earthquake here. Very strange. Makes me think something else is coming. Now, I didn't wake up my husband. The last 2 nights, I have woke up about every 2 hours on the hour in a start. And I thought about telling him I'm having a really weird vibe. But I thought, no, I'm not going to do that to him, because normally when I tell him I'm having really weird vibes, I have to get up, go wake him up, tell him I'm having a really weird vibe, and I normally do fill him in about these things. But I was at the other end of the house, and I thought, I'm not going to wake him up. The last 2 nights, though, I've been that way, and I thought, should I tell him? No, I'm not going to tell him. I'm not going to freak him out. The last time I felt really weird vibes like this, there was a plane crash that hit the ridge of the mountain and killed everybody on board. And then the last time I felt like this, the neighbor up the road had gotten pinned by his automobile in his garage, and it killed him, and nobody found him for like 3 days. And I had like 3 days of feeling really strange. I never understand why my body does these things. But anyway, the last 2 nights, I have woke up like every hour or two on the hour in a start, like something, something's going to happen, that really weird vibe. And this morning we have an earthquake. It was a more of a powerful one for Tennessee. But if you really think about it, the New Madrid Fault's been gearing up for a few years, having very routine, pretty strong little earthquakes, like it's gearing up for one. And the last time the New Madrid had one, the Mississippi went backwards for a week. So, you can only imagine what's going to happen when it finally gives way to another big one. Let me fix my hair. I look horrible. So I woke up to a lurch. Well, I was awake, but I had just dozed back off and woke up to a lurch, and things still shaking. And I thought, well, that's pleasant. It's another earthquake here. We've had 3, 4. The one that lasted the longest was about 30 seconds. It just kind of shook everything. Hi, Nat. It just kind of shook everything, and I ran out and I was get my daughter out of the house, and I was like, go stand in the front yard away from any trees. And I was trying to locate my son, who was playing outside, and he was trying to shut the barn door, and he goes, it won't shut. And I said, we're having an earthquake. Get over here. And he came over in the front yard. We just hung out in the front yard till it stopped. Really weird experience. I can't say I would do well living in an earthquake-prone area. I say as I live by the New Madrid Fault. It's probably not a smart thing to say, but I couldn't live in like Japan or Taiwan, or it's just really weird. So we had an earthquake this morning. I still have not found any reports on it, so when I do, I'll share with you. But so when Mom gets up and going a little bit more, I don't want to wake her up. She's been so sick. I'll call and see if she felt it as well this morning. So, but I'll be back down there. My aunt stayed until tonight or tomorrow morning. My brother's coming in just for a quick visit. And then as soon as my brother leaves, I'll be back down. So we kind of have to allot room at the farm for whoever's there. So I will be there. On another note, I want to show you what I have been crocheting. Y'all know I started the Bigfoot. Here's what I've got so far. Here's his big feet. cute. I made one little mislick, but I'm going to have to do his eyes, and when I embroider his eyes, it'll cover that up, so I'm not worried about it. Here's his feet and his legs, but here is the Fiesta de Resistance. Look at his butt. I'm in love with this pattern. It's so cute. That's why they call it the Juicy Booty Bigfoot. I left my yarn in because I had enough I was going to sew in, put a locking stitch and sew in his arm. This is such a cute pattern, and I did in the last live, I did tag the pattern creator, her Etsy link for this pattern. It's called the Juicy Booty Bigfoot. Look at that, y'all. Look at that. It's so cute. It's like the little turtle, the cheeky turtle that has the shell you can take off and see his butt, but it's a Bigfoot. So I like his arms. His ears are surface stitched, and then I've got to embroider his face. And I think I'm going to give him a little X belly button, but here he is. And I told David I really like him, but I've made me a second one during this time. And so this one is going to go in David's Etsy shop to pay him back for the yarn that he's purchased for me. So if you like Mr. Bigfoot, he's probably going to be, he's pretty big actually. He's a pretty big plushie. And he's taken quite a bit of time and yarn. He's probably going to be around $35. And he will go in David's Etsy shop. When I get his face embroidered, you won't see my little mislick because his eyes are up here and then his nose. But I'm just enamored with this pattern. I mean, that's just so cute. And I've been squishing it took me a while to squish the fluffing down to where I was happy. But there's his butt. Isn't that cute? That's why they call it the Juicy Booty Bigfoot. I just think it's cute. So the lady that did this did an excellent pattern. Hello from South Africa. Howdy. Welcome to the Cumberland Plateau in Tennessee, where we just had a little earth shaker. We have a few, but not regularly. But this one was more of a hit. It was like a collision earthquake, which is not normal for this area. It was very strange. So just thought I'd pop on and see if anybody else felt it around here, but obviously in South Africa, I don't think you would have. Hello, everyone coming in. We've got Jesus Loves You. I like your name. Omar Carlos Rodriguez. Hello. But this pattern that I just did, I made one mislick, but the face embroidery will cover that up. But this is the Juicy Booty Bigfoot. And there's this little juicy booty. So I've got to put his arms and embroider his face, put his ears on. But the lady that came up with this pattern, she is somebody that I probably will watch. She has an Etsy store. I did link it in my last live. I will probably keep up with her and follow her because her patterns are really well written, easy to follow, and you can always message her if you have an issue. And this guy is so cute. He will go in David's Etsy shop. David's Etsy shop is Hillbilly Heart Decor. And if you don't know, my husband is a trapper tanner. And he does all his own work. You can follow him on Trapper Dave Waters, the YouTube channel, and you can watch him trap these animals, deal with the animals, take them through the entire process, and they'll have a tanned hide that he actually offers for sale many times on his Etsy store. I know he's got some furs for sale right now on his Etsy store, got some crafts, some jewelry that I've made. I try to pay him back for all the crafting supplies by giving him some things to sell in his Etsy store that I have made. I do have some ceremonial sticks and some rattles that I will be placing in the Etsy store for him as payback. He buys all my crafting supplies, so it's only nice that I give something back. So, oh my goodness, I cannot pronounce most of these names, but howdy, welcome. Come down, Sispel. But the weirdest thing this morning, I'd been up, got up early because David had been up getting ready to go cut wood. He's cutting firewood this weekend. And so I had been up and awake, and I had done a few things around the house and gotten dressed, and I thought, well, I'm gonna rest again. I'm just gonna lay back down and doze, just because I haven't been sleeping well. The last 2 nights I woke up like every hour or two with a start, and should have known something was fixing to happen. I get those herky-jerky heebie-jeebie feelings, and just as I was getting to the land of Nod, it was a big foot-ump, and almost thought it was going to pitch me off the edge of the bed because I'm an edge sleeper, I'm one of those. And when I woke up, my mirror was still doing this, and nothing fell, but everything was still kind of in movement. And it moved my bobcat mount like a quarter of an inch on the tabletop, which I thought that took some force, y'all. That took some force because that bobcat mount is heavy. It's on old barn lumber. Wow. So we had a pretty strong rock'em sock'em little earthquake, though it was very short-lived. I don't like him. The earth's not supposed to move underneath me without telling me. I think I'm important. Hello, I do not know how to say that name, but howdy, I see you there. Thanks for joining in. So if you've never been here before, my name is Elizabeth. I'm a retired parole officer, retired counselor. I worked basically in forensic psychology with the correction system or with people that had a lot of criminogenic behavior or mental health issues that required some cognitive behavioral therapy intervention. Since then, I was injured early on when I worked at a wilderness boot camp for juveniles, and I had a bunch of leg surgeries, bunch of issues, and I developed a neuromuscular disorder, and worked for a long time until it began attacking my organs. And eventually the hospitalizations were too numerous, and they told me I would have to stop because I was driving through multiple counties, 5 counties a day, working for the parole board and area courts, and doing counseling, cognitive behavioral therapy for the murderers. I supervise the violent offenders. So let me get rid of somebody here. Okay, that helps. And so it was a hard job. It was an emotional job, and it was a lot. I loved it, though. I loved every minute of it. But my body kind of gave way after that. After like the 4th or 5th surgery, it really exacerbated the disorder, and it presented really horrendously. And then it started attacking my organs, and my doctors were like, "You're going to have to stop." So after the last 4 years, I finally found a balance with keeping me mostly healthy, with not stressing my body out, though I still have horrible issues. It presents kind of like MS. So you'll see me sometimes doing really well, sometimes doing really poorly. And because of my health, I normally spend a lot of my time, probably most of my time actually, down on my parents' cattle farm, just so I have somebody with me, especially if I'm having a lot of health issues that week and we're fixing to go back down there. My aunt's visiting and then my brother's visiting, so I have to stay away for a couple more days just for everybody to have room. But so you see a cattle farm with me. You see my husband does trapping and tanning. When I'm able, I like to get out and maybe fish, do a few things. I do a lot of native art. I look like my Irish father, but I do have some Cherokee in me. I just look like my Irish dad. And we just kind of have a Appalachia channel, a lifestyle channel, kind of learn with me. Here's life, problems with life, all that other stuff. If you're interested in Appalachia, like the artwork or the creativity that me and my husband turn into art, you can go to my husband's Etsy store, which is Hillbilly Heart Decor, and pick out. We've got some native inspired jewelry, some actual pelts that my husband traps and tans. We have some artwork that I've done, some fur pocketbooks from rustic to not as rustic that I've made, and I'm actually working on a coyote fur mantle right now. And that's going to be for somebody going to a Renaissance fair that wants the fur mantle around them. It's actually going to go under one arm and latch here. And it's going to be very pretty. But I'm working very slow this last week. I've been in flare for a while and not been doing the greatest. So I'm working very, very, very slow. But we'll get it done. It's okay. Hey, Lighthouse Ministries, how you doing? So, but I wanted to come on and say, like, hey, we had earthquake. It went, that knocked me out of bed. But I also wanted to share, because a lot of people were wondering how I was doing on my Bigfoot pattern. Let me put my needle in him. And this is the Bigfoot pattern. He still needs his arms, his ears, and his face, okay? But this is the Juicy Booty Bigfoot pattern. I'm in love with this little pattern. The lady who made this pattern is so easy to follow, so sweet, and just so well written. But here's what makes him the Juicy Booty Bigfoot. Look at that. I just think that's adorable. That is too cute. That made my whole day. Taking care of Mom. I'm fixing to be back down. My aunt's visiting, and then my brother's visiting tonight and tomorrow night, and then I'll be back down on the farm. And me and Mom kind of take care of each other these days. She's been having blood pressure issues and going through some testing, so I'm going to go to some appointments with her this week. And I've been having a lot of flares, and we changed my thyroid medicine because my thyroid's not working. We're trying to make it work before we take it out. It's not wanting to work. So we've changed my medicine. It's made me just not feel well, as you can see. So I'll be back down there Sunday night or Monday morning. I was going to go yesterday, and then she said your brother's coming in, so I stay up here out of Matthew's way when he comes in, and because it's a smaller house, so I'll go back down Monday. But I love this little pattern. This is the Juicy Booty Bigfoot, and in the last live, I did pin a comment with the address to her Etsy shop and this pattern in particular. Really sweet woman, but he is going to be up for adoption on David's Etsy store later. I know, Priscilla. He's going to be up for adoption later on David's Etsy store at Hillbilly Heart Decor. So I've got to do his arms, his face, and his ears. And I just think that's the cutest little pattern. Look at that little butt. That's the cutest little pattern I've ever seen. And he takes a lot of time. He takes a lot of yarn, takes a lot of stuff, and so he'll be 35 or so bucks. But he actually is a pretty good size stuffy. And the pattern is just really well written, and it's just really cute little pattern. It's just a really cute little pattern. I'm also doing the unicorn head for the unicorn lovey for my nephew's baby that's on the way. So here's the blanket. Here's the head for the lovey. And it's going to sit like in the middle right here. It's going to sit right here. It's all the fez off of it. It's going to sit right here. And then the hands and feet for the lovey are just the fabric you put in circles. So it's going to have hand, foot, foot. And so it's a blanket lovey snuggler for the baby. And it's a little girl, so I made it a unicorn. And then I found out that one of the nurses where I go that helps maintain my care, she's pregnant, and so I'm going to make her a lovey. She doesn't know what it is yet, so I'm going to do a pale green, probably a little pale green frog lovey. Priscilla, that would make her feel a whole lot better. The real devil. Okay. I just had the real devil come into my chat. I don't know. I supervise murder, so I saw a lot of the real devil. So I don't think you're the real devil, sir. I did get this much done the other day when I had to go to court over that woman that kept shooting at me. Listen, if you work in corrections or supervise offenders, people are going to hate you your whole life, and you're going to have to deal with people. I crocheted this in court the other day. I'm making a big poofy lovey to lay on a bed and have a huge giant unicorn head. So it's going to be huge, and it's just going to lay on the bed and be a giant like unicorn head pillow. She looks like Miss Piggy right now. I've got to shape her nose and put her eyes and mouth on. She got some hair. Woman got some hair, man. She got some hair. But I'm going to put her on this, and it's just going to be like a big fancy pillow to go on a little girl's. But I've got to shape the head because she looks like Miss Piggy. So I'll shape the head, shape her nose, and we're going to make her. But she's going to a person. I normally just make for my friends. But every once in a while when I get a pattern, or I bug David to purchase me a pattern, which, let's just be honest, I bugged David to purchase me a pattern. Then if it turns out really well, I'll give it to David to put in his Etsy shop. So a lot of stuff that I like, that's how I pay David back for buying me all my yarn. I buy a lot of yarn. Right now I'm on a yarn halt because after doing 10 months of contracts, David was hired by a man that guaranteed him like 4 years of work. Government contract drops linemen for fiber optic, doing all these drops, putting all this line up. David worked for 10 months. After Tuesday, he worked Tuesday, went back, and the guy said, oh, well, we're done. Gave him no warning, no nothing. Apparently, David worked so well that he did 4 years of contracts in 10 months. The guy said, well, we're done. There's no more left to do. And David said, why didn't you warn me? Why didn't you tell me I was getting to the end? Because he made it sound like there was so much more to be done. So my husband worked so efficiently, he worked himself out of a job. But here's the thing with contracts. If they get done early, the person that got awarded the contract, he can just pocket that extra money. Has he even thought about giving my husband a bonus? No. Has he even thought about being kind and saying, let me help you find another job with another one of these agencies? No. So my husband left a job where he was at for almost 10 years because this man hounded and pestered him and offered him the world. He's been the most horrible employer. He cut us off during the winter, but refused to lay them off, but screwed up every attempt to draw unemployment. So we went through all our savings in the winter. I felt so bad for David because I'd be down at Mom and Dad's on the farm and know he was struggling. It was hard. So I would try to come up here and help him and like keep the fire and stuff during the coldest events so that he could get out and do stuff and make some money. I felt really bad for him. Plus it was really cold winter. This was the most horrible employer we've ever had. I mean, and just when you get a good worker like that and you beg for them to come work for you, you should treat them well. And when they save you a butt ton of money and get your contracts done, 4 years of contracts done in less than a year, you might ought to reward them. But he has not done either, and I'm very upset with this man. I don't like him. I don't like for people to treat my husband poorly because he is a good man. He's not very good with my health issues. We'll say that. He kind of satellites. When I get really sick, he kind of takes space because he doesn't know how to deal with it. I get very sick sometimes. It's like an MS flare, and I kind of shut down, and I get hospitalized a lot, and he doesn't do well with that, and that's fine. Me and mom kind of take care of each other when those things occur, and that's why I stay down there so much. That's fine. But he's a good worker, and I'm just like, why would you not reward a good worker? But it's Appalachia where good workers are treated like crap every day. And Lighthouse, you know that. Hi Edith, how are you doing? So it's just been, ever since he took that job, it seems like his life has been in a turmoil. It's made everybody else's lives feel like they're in turmoil. And even though, I'm not here a lot of the time, I still worry about him. I still worry about him. This has been the hardest year of our marriage with my health, all the health issues, all the problems. If y'all have not watched my channel, a little over a year ago, a year and a half ago, I guess, there was a lady that got on meth that lived behind my pasture that decided I was with the little green men stealing her trees. I identified it immediately as a meth issue because I worked in the criminal justice field forever. And but she had thought that I was with the little green men stealing her trees and began shooting at my house. And for like almost a year, I would have to call and be like, she's shooting again. She's getting close to my fence line. She gets my property. We're going to have a problem. Y'all need to come stop her. And they would swear, even though they'd hear the shots on dispatch call. They would swear when they got here they couldn't hear anything. Well, not 35 miles per hour. I don't guess you can. And they wouldn't stop and sit and listen. And so they weren't listening to me. They were like, oh, Elizabeth, you can handle that. Listen, just because I used to be in law enforcement does not mean I want to act like it in my retirement. Leave me alone. I'm sick. And so I just finally live streamed it when she started shooting one night when she was on her little hiatus. And I said, okay, y'all can come get her now or I'm going to sue you. Took 5 men to arrest her. She was down in the woods by my property line with a .22 long barrel rifle. And that's a little one, but that's a lethal round from that distance. And she was actively screaming at me that night. So I had to go to court last Tuesday over that, and I had a doctor's appointment, which is why I came up here. And my aunt said she would stay with my mom while I was away. And so I'm still up here because my aunt's still in. She won't leave until tonight or tomorrow. And then my brother's in until Sunday night. So I went to court Tuesday, and they immediately, her lawyer was, because I used to work with her attorney. I know everybody because I used to work in that field. Retired parole and probation officer, counselor, all that stuff. And he kept going in and out, and I saw the furrow lines, and I thought, oh, he's not happy. Bless his heart. It's not going well for him. He's having a hard time with her. And sure enough, when the district attorney secretary came to me, she sat down and she goes, she's mad, and we're going to have you sit here until she gets gone. And then she's going to call her lawyer when she's home, and she's going to stay inside so that you can get home safely. And because I told them I'm up here for a few more days, so if she gets pissed off, I need to get home safely. And they said, we're going to make sure she stays in her home and she has to have no contact. She can't have any weapons right now. Of course, and criminals not going to listen to all that crap anyway. But I mean, I'm safe, and I can take care of myself for the most part when my health is good. But I don't like being up here. That's why I don't like being up here. So I'll be going back down the hill Monday. But she was irate because she found out that they were going to true bill her over to the grand jury in criminal court. She's mad at me. I don't know why you're mad at me. I did not take meth and get a gun and start shooting at people. That was you. That was you. And it made my life hell. So if you're going through it now, it's because of your actions. But I did live stream that. They've asked me several times to take it down. No, y'all need to learn from this. And I work in that realm, and so obviously every once in a while people get pissed at me. They come out of prison, they're still pissed at me. They do things. You expect it when you work in this field. You expect people to not like you. Especially when they've lived that lifestyle. That's okay. Most people I get along with famously, and I still get people into rehab. They'll come and knock on my door and be like, nobody will help me. Will you help me? Yeah, sure. Sit on my porch. We'll find you rehab. I'm generally a nice person. I think everybody, as long as they're breathing, can overcome whatever they've gone through. They can become a better version of themselves. If you're breathing, you got hope. And but this woman, for some reason, just hates me. Do I know her? No. I think my mom had her girls in clogging like 20-something years ago. I never supervised her, although I know she's living with a convicted felon, but I don't think I ever supervised him either. So it's just weird. It's just weird. Yeah. Well, Mom, it did. It was. I know I've lived a weird life, and I've worked a lot of jobs that most women don't work. But they ain't no reason for her to act like that. Put on some manners every once in a while. But it's been a rough few years around here, and the quality of people in this area has degenerated immensely in the last few years, and we're seeing that probably in many other places as well. And I refuse to allow people, when there are laws in place to protect each other, and laws in place to keep people, safe. I'm not going to let you act out of those. And, my concern was not initially for me until she really started screaming at me. It was for all the kids that live on the other side in that little, there's a little family street, a little mock suburbia there. I was more concerned about that until she apparently identified that I was with the little green men she was seeing, and I was like one of them, and so she had to take me out too. And then I was like, okay, well, I should be concerned for me now. It was not fun, and I lost a lot of nights sleep. And with David's jobs, it wasn't safe for me to be up here, especially after she got in trouble. While she was waiting for her psych evaluation, she was just mad. She talked to the other criminals in the area, and I would get text threats that they, hope that she did kill us. And but here's the thing: unless you can walk up on my door, knock on it, tell me to my face, you're just a big sissy. So, although a phone text, verbal or written, is assault in the state of Tennessee, but I just reported everything to the law enforcement and just said, we're figuring out a whole lot more from them thinking they can text me. We're figuring out the circle. Just let them text me. So I turned all the information we got into the law enforcement. It's been a year here. It's been a couple of years here. So I know, and I'm not related to either of them. Hey, Ophelia, how you doing? So it's been a couple of years here, and I'm a nomad now. I just live out of bags because I'm back and forth and back and forth. But I was supposed to be back at the farm, but my aunt's staying through tonight, which is fine. She's wanting to give me a break and visit a little bit longer. She doesn't get to visit as much as she wants to. That's fine. I don't mind. And then my brother's coming in tonight and staying tonight and tomorrow night. So I'll be back down at the farm Monday. So I have to of course, my brother's from the Newport area and went through Helene and all that stuff. And so he stayed up there a lot after all that. But he still likes to come visit with Mom and Dad. They're getting older, and Mom's health has been acting up lately, which normally she's perfectly healthy, but it's been acting up lately. And so even though I'm basically live with them, if they want to visit, I will certainly come back up the hill and sleep in the room up here. It's not a problem. So that's where I've been. But we had an earthquake this morning. I'm an edge sleeper, so I about lurched out the bed. And I'm round. I will roll. I about rolled right out the bed. And I have a high bed. Oh, see? Here I am. Yeah, we had an earthquake here this morning. It was, woo, hi, Margaret. We had an earthquake here this morning. It was not a big one, but it was more of instead of a rumbly shake, it was a boom, and then boom, boom, boom. And then it stopped. But now, unlike the last one, my taxidermy didn't turn upside down. Nothing fell. It moved my bobcat mount about an inch or so. It just basically lurched us all, and I about rolled off the bed. Everybody's felt it. Nobody is saying anything about it on the radio, which is strange. Oh, I made one more thing. I can talk. My mother-in-law loves cows, and she loves the weird cow toys from the old days that don't necessarily look like cows, and she I don't know, she likes weirder things. And she has begged and begged for me to crochet her cow. Now I found one that I want to do, but she had been gushing over this one, and it's a little fat, weird cow. Look at the head. He sploots, so he lays down. He's a splooting cow. He sploots. And he's got a giant head and little tail back here. Little tail. Spots that you sew on after you do them, and he just lays on the table. And she went gaga over this, and I was like, okay, well, I'll make that for Mother's Day. I sent my mom a card, and it said, because it'll probably get there, the mailman to get there probably right before me, but I wanted to show her I was thinking of her mail it from here because otherwise I would have handed it to her. And it's look how fat it is. It's the fattest little pattern. It's the fattest little pattern. But I sent Mom a card. It'll probably get there literally 5 minutes before I pull the driveway. But it's the thought that counts, so she'll know I was thinking about it and I mailed it. I got them pictures from where we went and visited the grandbabies. I made them 2 canvases with them of the grandbabies. So I gave them to them last week because I didn't know if I could keep them without them getting smashed because I'm back and forth so much. So they hung those up. But I got her card and it says, it say, "Hey Mom, you did a good job because I'm mailing this and it's not from prison." And listen, being retired parole officer, I found that very funny. I snorted out loud, so that's the one my mom got. David got his mom one that said, "Momming is hard, you're killing it." But for those of you that's been joining in on, I thought this was funny too. For those of you that's been joining in on the Bigfoot, I made one misleap, but when I do his eyes, it'll cover that up, so I'm not worried about it. This is the Bigfoot. This is Mr. Bigfoot. Juicy. Here he is sitting. There's his feet when he sits. I've got to put his arms, his ears, and embroider his face. But here's the whole reason behind the pattern. I love this pattern. This is the Juicy Booty Bigfoot. I love him. I love him. His name's Hank. I love this pattern. The woman did such a good job. He is so sweet, so cute. And he's actually a pretty big plushie. He took a lot of stuff and a lot of yarn. And I made him out of chenille velvet yarn, so he's very soft. Very soft. And so I've got his arms and his ears and his face. His ears are just surface crocheted on, but then I'm going to do his arms and put his face on it and then do the shaping, the rest of his body, the shaping. So he's got a lot of sewing and took a lot of yarn and stuff. So he'll be about $35. But I told David, since I made me another one at the same time, I said, I'm going to let you have this one to put in your shop. So Hank will be in the shop probably tonight to be adopted. So if anybody wants to adopt Hank, I just love this pattern. I just love this pattern. I just think he's so cute. Look at that little butt. I just think he's so cute. I've been squishing all the padding down to make sure his little butt stays the right shape. I just think it's so cute. Isn't Hank precious? Now, the lady that makes these, the lady that has the pattern, she sells these for like $65. And I was like, I'm poor. And I couldn't justify spending that on it. But if I look at the time I've spent and the yarn and the fluff I had to put in the polyfill and all the sewing time and shaping and stuff, I can say, yeah, 35 is probably a good for something this size with as much as he's got going on. That's a good deal. I'm just not someone that can price them super, super high. So I think David said he's going to put them on for like 35. And he'll have to be shipped in a box because I don't want him smashed. So if you want to adopt Hank, he will be on David's Etsy store, Hillbilly Heart Decor. Should be on there by tonight. I should get him finished today. He's cute. He's very cute. I think the next one I'm going to do is an armadillo. I've been wanting to do an armadillo for myself, but I also found out that the nurse at my primary care physician, I also found out my nurse is expecting. She told me that yesterday. And so I'm going to make her a neutral colored lovey. So I've got a lot of light mint green. I'm going to make like a little frog lovey for her. Because she's all the time asking me for little stuff, and I made her a leggy frog and took yesterday, and she just oogled over it. She loves the frogs. So I thought, well, a neutral color, light green leggy frog may be the way to go for her. So her baby will begin its life with a leggy frog. And then this that I started in court, I've got another round to go. It's going to be basically a very elaborate pillow. And I've got to shape her face because she looks like Miss Piggy. But when I shape her face, she'll look like a little horse. Get her nose shaped and get her mouth shaped to get her embroidery on. And it's just going to be like a very delicate pillow with a frill for a little girl's bed. She looks like Miss Piggy right now. But I've got all the pieces for the lovey. I just have to sew it together. Here's the unicorn head for the lovey. Here's the lovey it will go on. And then we got hands and then feet at the bottom. So this is just like a snuggly lovey for my nephew's baby that's on the way. I wanted to make a unicorn because it's a little girl. And I've got to put her sleeping eyes on and her nose. Hi, Sal. I like to crochet. It makes me feel productive. Even when I'm having really horrible health days, it makes me feel productive. And yarn is well, I'm not going to say it's fairly expensive. Some of the yarn I like to get is kind of expensive, especially for like Hank and stuff. I want the Chanel, I want the plush, thicker yarn. And I wouldn't recommend doing that pattern in Chanel until you get to know it, because Chanel yarn notoriously hides your stitches. So I had to go kind of slow on Hank. But I knew it would look so cute, and he would be so soft in Chanel, and you can just see he's butter. I love it. And I wouldn't recommend doing it in Chanel yarn though, because you'll go blind. You can't find all the stitches. But he's so cute. Well, thank you. Is it Lakeland? Thank you, Lakeland. It is a combination of Cover Your Gray and then the sun killed the color. I notoriously say that I'm the same color as the Limousine Heifer that I halter broken showed when I was in high school. I had Limousine cattle, and I showed Limousine Heifers. It's darkened up and got more brown since I had my son. He's a giant carrot redhead, but my dad's Irish. My mom has got a lot of native in her, and we still have some red hair floating. But I tan and freckle. I do tan though eventually. But Hank will be up for adoption on David's Etsy tonight or tomorrow. He'll be about $35. And that's a pretty good deal for a big plushie like this that's handmade. And I've got to put his face on, his ears and his arms. We'll get that done today. And I think he's cute. I'm enamored with this pattern. And I love the big feet. He's so cute. Well, thank you. I just picked it up. I did granny squares when I was little. Mom taught me how to do granny squares, but I hadn't really thought about it in a while. And we had such a cold winter, and my daughter had twins. Her and her husband had twins. And she was like, I would like to have this. Does anybody do this? And I was like, I can make that. It took me a while, but I can make it. And now I've not stopped. I crochet everything. Everything. Even when the mother-in-law asks you for really strange cow patterns, you just crochet it and shut up. You just go. But my big thing I'm working on right now is I'm working on a coyote mantle, fur mantle that's going to go over one shoulder and other the under. It's going to clasp in the middle with it looks like a leaf closure. And I'm going to put some dangles on it. And it's going to be for somebody that wants to go to a Renaissance fair or a Viking thing. It's going to be very pretty. I've got the hide up there. I've been staring at it and trying to handle it and try to find the best way to cut it. And I think I figured it out. And of course, y'all know when I do things, I have to look at it and it has to tell me what it wants to become. So I've been talking to him for a few days now. And if I have to stay here through Monday, I may start on it and hand sew some of it and then finish it on Mom's industrial machine when I go down there. My mom does have an industrial sewing machine. Well, thank you. This shirt was, I think it's a Temu shirt. I'm pretty sure it's a Temu shirt. And it's just a eyelet lace. And I just make sure I put on like a pinky or nude bandal bra underneath it or cami. Good to go. It's very summer. I enjoy it. It's kind of weird because I'm rocking all this ink, but then I have bows on my shoulders. It kind of confuses some people, but that's okay. That's okay. It's okay. The armadillo is going to be about 12, 14 inches long, maybe a little more of the tail. And it's going to be probably 8 or 9 inches tall. I'm going to have to get another couple skeins of gray. I've got enough to start out. I'm going to make it out of the same yarn bee gray that I made the giant catfish out of, which the giant catfish was like it and the fat fox was the only thing that did not sell for David at the spring planting. I'm amazed so many people was interested in my crochet. It makes it, I mean, I put them on the table just as an afterthought, thinking, well, maybe somebody will like them. It's only wildlife. I'm not stepping on plushy feet. And they loved them. Yeah, it's almost life-size, Margaret. It is. It's like it's a baby juvenile armadillo size. That's what it reads on the pattern. Now, if I use a smaller yarn, it may come out smaller. But right now, I'm going to use the big fat yarn bee that I had. Is that kind of like a rife machine? My parents have a rife machine. What is this TZ? I don't know what that is. You can tell me what it is, though. I'll check. I have a disorder like MS. It's my central nervous, sympathetic, parasympathetic, all that's diseased. Basically, it doesn't function correctly, and sometimes it shuts down completely. And I'm a potato, and Other days it causes me to have my depth perception is off and I miss stuff and I don't like I'm on a half-second delay. And other days I swell and just can't do anything. So I've been having a rough couple months. Today actually woke up feeling better than I felt in a few months. I took I, I went and saw my grandbabies in southern Georgia with my mom and dad, which was a very big trip, a very long drive, very hard on me. And I've been kind of in half flare since then. My body has not done well. And I think I'm just now starting to recover from that. But with all the spring weather systems, I've had a rough go of it. I've had a really rough go of it. So, and I was starting to get back to sleep. As you can see, I'm starting to get little pudgy eyes where I was starting to doze, and that earthquake hit and about rolled me out of the bed because I'm an edge sleeper. I was like, woo, dropped my pillow. I was clutching. I thought, well, we had an earthquake. I looked up and the mirror was still doing like this because I've got that mirror propped because I've got a big mirror that stands up, but I've kept it in the box until I absolutely know where I want to put it. And I'm still at odds with that room. I don't know where I'm putting everything. But I've got my little mirror propped up, and it's a oval, and I've got it propped, and it was doing this when I woke up. I was like, ooh, we had an earthquake. So everybody's talking about it except the radio. So I imagine later today I'll have to watch Dutch Sense to see what Dutch says about this, because I'm sure he'll be on it. But yeah, the last couple nights I've not slept well. I woke up like every couple hours. I thought about telling David I'm having those heebie-jeebie feelings, but I worry him when I have those. So I thought, no, I'm not going to say anything about it. It's probably just my health. No, I swear I'm super sensitive to everything. I think it's because of my health, but I swear I'm super sensitive to everything. But my parents have a Rife machine, R-I-F-E, and that really has helped me a lot too. And I can tell when I'm down there and I'm taking my daily Rife treatments, I do a lot better. And when I have to stay up here for long term for like a week of doctor's appointments or court like this week or somebody visiting, I can tell that my body goes back downhill. And so I know the Rife machine helps me immensely. And so, it's been hard on my marriage because we've just had a really rough couple of years. It's been about a year and a half of really rough. It's just been a really rough go. When I got very sick, and then this stupid neighbor pulling her stunt, we were at odds because he didn't want to report it. He didn't want to, he said, just leave her alone. She'll stop. No, honey, somebody that has a meth addiction, that has weapons, they don't stop until they hurt themselves or someone else. I supervised that world for a long time. That is a bomb waiting to go off, and I'm not okay with watching it. And so he got very upset that I went and took care of it legally. And then I was like, let's just move. Let's get away from here, because then as soon as the area knew I was going after her for her behavior, we started getting death threats via the phone, because I used to be a parole officer. I used to supervise the violent offenders. And I was like, let's just move. Let's just get out of this. This area has been overtaken by pitiful people. Let's just move. And by God, no, I'm not moving. So we had a huge marital after 22 years. And I primarily stay with my parents now. They're on the back of a back road on a family cattle field where, you have to have a reason to drive there. We've got all the security cameras, a bunch of cattle, and a bunch of coon dogs that tells us when anybody's down there. And I'm a lot better down there. I don't have the stress. I don't have the concern. I feel a little bit safer, and I rest better. My health does better. They've got the Rife machine. And so I spend most of my time down there. And now Mom's health has been acting up. So Mom and I kind of help each other. We babysit each other. And I come up here for when I have appointments. And I had 3 appointments this week. I had to get my brakes fixed. I had a doctor's appointment, an EKG and blood draw. And then I had the court, in which they're going to true bill her over to the criminal court, to the grand jury. So she was not happy. And so I've got one more day to stay up here, and she was not happy. Well, 1.5. And so I've been head on a swivel. What can you do? I mean, I just kind of go back into officer mode, and just I'm hyper aware of my surroundings, and I don't stay very far from a pew-pew. Stay on my land. I leave everybody alone, and someone will have to bring me a problem, and I'm hoping they don't. So far, they haven't. I think it's a stress fee. I really do. Yeah, because when I'm down there, I'm not stressed. I'm not stressed. because there's so many roads coming in and so many cameras that I've got so much warning of anything incoming. There's one way in, one way out. My place is pretty, but Lord, the things around it are not pretty. The boy over here, the neighbor woman has not been back where it burnt, but her son has dropped a shed like right on the proper, right on a fence, which is illegal. It could cause issues with my homeowner's insurance if something happened. The company that dumped it there should not have dumped it there. They knew it was illegal. I'm going to have to broach that topic. Then yesterday he rolled in a big RV. And listen, I got no problem with you if you live in alternate ways, but they've yet to pick up any trash that the firefighters raked out of that home. They just let it blow everywhere. I had to put a mesh thing up along my fence to keep it from blowing in my yard, and because I would come back from down there and there would be trash all through the yard. And David would be like, I don't have time during the week to pick it up and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't want to touch their trash. Because I know that they were doing questionable things and I don't want to touch their trash. I used to work for law enforcement. I know what goes on over there. But they've not offered to pick anything up. They've not offered to do the first thing to clean it. It smells so bad from the chemicals the firefighter sprayed and the wet sop that because she hoarded that trailer, it was full. It smells so bad when it rains. We've got a freshwater creek behind it with a freshwater spring, and thank God they're down from the spring. But what are they doing? What are they doing to that creek? What are they doing to the wildlife in that creek? The runoff that's occurring. It's just like, start picking stuff up, taking a few bags a day, at least clean up the exterior. And before you start dragging everything else in, how about you pick up? They've got like 17 piles of just stuff that they've hoarded in their yard, in the backyard. And and then, I worry when he brings stuff in because 3 years ago, he stole over $70,000 from people and ended up spending quite a bit of time in jail per 2 counties that had concurrent charges on him. And so when he brings something in, I'm like, oh crap, what did he steal? I worry. I'm like, oh crap, what are we going to have to deal with now? And, because you wouldn't think it'd be my problem, but when the cops roll up, park in your yard and turn the canine unit loose like they have before, trying to catch him as he runs, it becomes your problem. And so I'm just like, oh my gosh. Now they leave me alone. Like the other day, the mail delivered a box over there that should have been here. It was a new mail guy. He didn't know. And that boy stopped me coming back from my doctor's visit. He said, they delivered a box. He said, I didn't know it was yours. He said, Mom was screaming at me on the phone. He thought it was his mom's medical supplies, her adult diapers. And she was screaming, open the box and check it, open the box and check it. And he said, I cut the box open. And he said, fur jumped out at me, scared me to death. And what it was David's black bear. He sent his black bear off because he was doing so much himself. He sent a few things off because he got behind. And he said, but I wouldn't open it if he said, she was just yelling at me. I just opened it real quick. Now, he might have been telling the truth, might not. But I thought I'd play it off. He said, if you'll follow me back up the road. I said, that's fine. So I followed him back up the road. He handed me the box over, and I just opened it. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm making sure everything that's on the packing slip is in the box. Oh, I didn't steal nothing from you. I said, oh, I don't think you're that stupid, but I'm still going to check while you're standing here. And so I pulled the big bear out, draped it over my shoulder, and it was still touching the ground, pulled everything else out. He goes, why do y'all do that? And I said, we like to take things apart. It's fun. So he's like, oh, just tell Dave I'm sorry. I said, hey, he got his box of fur. He'll be fine. I said, now, had he not got it or something was missing, I said, I wouldn't be you. He goes, well, I didn't steal nothing. I said, no, I don't think you're stupid enough to steal from me. No, I'm not. Well, okay. But I had to make a show of it to let him know it irritated me and I was checking. But yeah, I'd say he did get a shock. But I'd say had there been something in that box that he could have sold without it being traced easily, he'd probably sold it. So now it's, all about making sure that they see that my mailbox is marked. Read, okay? FedEx, UPS, read. Count your numbers. So, yeah, Margaret, I have to, it was a learning moment for him. I had to take advantage of a learning moment. So You know, and I try when I hefted that box, it was so heavy, but I was trying to walk off with it on my shoulder like it was nothing. I got in the house and I was like, ow, 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 ow. And I literally suffered the rest of the day. But I had to put on a bravado face because that's who I am. And but I paid for it because my back was crooked. I mean, it was still isn't feeling great. That was a heavy box. It was big. But I don't like to show weakness in those times. So, but yeah, he opened it, and but I know had something useful popped out, he probably would have showed. He would sold it, thieved it, cabbaged it, whatever you want to call it. Well, my thing is, there's a perfectly good home here and a burnt house over there. Why would you take it to the burnt house? FedEx is notoriously stupid, though. I had one good driver, and he was a very pretty black man. He's very pretty. He's very pretty. He's very pretty. I call him my FedEx boyfriend. I call it to Dave. I'm like, my FedEx boyfriend got replaced, and I think they have replaced him. He's very pretty, and we had a really good little friendship going on. He's a very sweet young man. I mean, super sweet. And he's really good. Like, he will always put it, he knows I have health issues. He'll put it right against the door if it has my name on it. And he's like, I know you're not always here. So he tucks it up close to the door in the porch. And he's just very sweet, very caring. And so I knew it wasn't him. And then what was it came the next? Oh, my kitchen thing came, the hutch, so I can get my microwave off my prep area. It came. And it was a new guy. And I was like, hey, yo, something got delivered over there the other day. And don't deliver stuff to the burnt house if it has my name. I don't live there. Make sure it comes here, because the people that live over there will not return it 9 times out of 10. He's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm like, why would you send it to a burnt house? There's a perfectly good, clean, well-kept, maintained, mowed, painted, stained, decorated house right here. And you think it goes to the burnt house where you can't even see vehicle tracks. And I mean, my mailbox has the numbers on it. Oh, thank you, Chelsea. Margaret, David has got one of those automobile jacks that roll, but it's a big one for like bucket trucks and stuff. That's normally what we use, because it's basically almost a pallet jack. And that one, David could have tossed that one up and carried it on one finger. Makes me mad because I used to be so strong, and since this disorder, I'm so weak. But that one had David's bear hide and his friend's bear hide in it, and I think like 2 or 3 beaver hides in it. I chucked it up on my shoulder and walked. Tried not to limp, by God. But when I got to the house, I was like, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. Used to be, I could haul hay all day, be better than the boys. I swear, I'd throw more hay on than boys. I'd keep up better. My dad was always so proud of me. He'd say I was the best farm hand he ever had. You know, I worked at all these barns. I was the head stable boy. I could drive all the machinery, you know, and I'm like, now I'm crippled and domesticated. And it's very frustrating. Well, the bear hides go to the owner. So, like, David was doing a bunch of fleshing and tanning for everybody. Because if you got a friend that does it to save you, you know, $100, $200 worth of work before you send it off yourself, David, he doesn't mind to help them. And he teaches a lot of young guys, a lot of younger kids how to get into it. But he got so far behind this winter with people coming over. We had a rough winter, so people were home a lot. So I had a lot of people come over wanting to know how to do stuff. And then a lot of people had gotten their own bears. And since they had time, they wanted to either let him flesh them or show them how to be fleshed. So he had a lot of people doing, you know, learning how to flesh, get it down super, super thin. It turns a bluey color, and you can see the hair starting to come back through. That's how thin. I used to do all this too. And so he got so far behind, he said, I'm just going to send mine and my friends off. And I said, that's fine. You know, because he was never going to get his done for having to do everything else for everybody else. I said, that's fine. And he said, I'm going to throw, and you have to do it by lot. So he sent the maximum that he would get the best price for. So he threw some beaver hides and stuff in there, and he just sent that off. And it was heavy, though. It was heavier than I thought it was going to be. But he's done a lot this winter. He's helped a lot of people this winter. And it's kind of been nice to see a real winter around here again. If the guy that worked him would just work regular. But we used to be in the wintertime, life slowed down around here, and you would spend a whole lot of time in the shop. And so, of course, I grew up with a family that had taxidermy shop, broiler houses, taxidermy shop, hunting lodge, meat processing. So we did a little bit of everything. But it was nice because people would gather and learn skills in the winter. They would visit and want to learn how to do something because they had the time. And so that it was kind of nice to see that again in the area because I hadn't seen that in several years. But it was also very painful because Dave's employer was not a good employer this winter. Well, Colin, if the earth hasn't moved to Scotland for years, maybe I need to move back there. We've had a few earthquakes here, and most of them are just little shimmy, 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 shimmy. And you might have a deer head turn, you know. You might hear the dishes clank a little bit, but this one was a wham, like it was almost like an impact. And I'm an edge sleeper on the bed, and I had thought I'm going to sneak a nap because I got up early. I thought I'm going to sneak a nap. I about rolled off the bed. So I'm like, are we going to have more? Because normally we'll have a few when that happens, because the New Madrid Fault is gearing up for a doozy. If y'all been watching it the last couple of years, it's been routinely having more little shocks. So I'm waiting for the Mississippi to go backwards again. Just saying. No, Colin, hey, that's a great way to basically say Scotland is where you need to be. And yeah, I do have family roots back there on my dad's side, so I'd fit right in with my red hair. It's a little bit more red. I did, if y'all know, I tried to calm it down because instead of that red that I'd covered my gray with last time, I have more of a copper color. So I tried to do a copper wash to color my gray. It still, on my gray, shines a little too bright, but it got the all right this time. But I can't, my natural red, I can't find anything to match it. And so as I go gray, it's frustrating. Very frustrating. Oh, you working on a rocking chair throw? Oh my goodness. My hair is, it does its own thing, and I just deal with it. I have aggressive hair, and it's not the healthiest. I brushed it this morning, so it looks horrible, but from my thyroid, I need to put some leave-in conditioner in it. But it is, my hair does its own thing, and I just let it, because if you try to tame it, it will just go crazy. It will attack. So I just let it go. It's getting pretty long though. Now my daughter has hair down to her butt, and she's had hair down to her butt since she was in 9th or 10th grade. And she could dye it black and do Cher impersonations. That's how skinny my daughter is. I look like security when I follow my child around. Well, she's not a kid anymore. She's 25. Almost 26. Wow. I'm old. Yeah, she's turning 26 this year. Wow, I'm old. Let that hit you. I'm a grandma times 3, though. I should feel old. Speaking of which, I'm going to make snuggle slugs. I'm going to make snuggle slugs for my kiddos, for my grandbabies. And I have the yarn, but I put it up. I was going to show you the yarn. Let me tell you what, this little Eeyore, me and Eeyore have been around about. Okay, I've done his hind legs. I've got everything done except for his hind legs. And I've done them 2 or 3 times. The pattern that had them on there, I didn't like them. And the way he's put together, I need to put his legs on first to get everything else kind of positioned, because depending on how he will stand is where everything, the balance for the keychain. I have done his legs over 3 times. So all of his little parts are right here, and he just looked like a little corpse sitting on my little table. And I'm like, I'll get you, buddy. I'm just having a really hard time with your hind legs. I don't like that pattern. That's the first pattern that I've ever found that I do not like. But now the other little cow, wherever it went, here it is. Ah. The other little cow for Ashley is done. I even put his little tail on. So her cow keychain is done. That's its ear. That's its ear over here. These are little horns. This little sunflower hat. So that's her little, and the purse goes on and off, but it stays on it, so I don't have to really attach it. This is her little cow keychain. And Eeyore will be just as cute, but his back legs, I'm trying to make them look like Eeyore's back legs, but the pattern that they had, it was not a good pattern. So we've gone through a couple of back legs, and I've got a minimal amount of the gray left, so I'm going to have to make peace with one. I've got a little ball of gray right here. I'm going to have to make peace with one type of them and just put them on them, because I've only got that much gray left. So I'm like, I've got to pick a set. I'm telling you what, the Bigfoot is my favorite thing. This is where we are right now with the Bigfoot. This is Hank. I made one mislick, but that's where I'm going to have to embroider his eye, so you're not going to see it, so I'm not worried about it. This is Hank. He's got to have his arms, his ears are surface crochet. Then I've got to do a lot of face and body shaping and embroidery work. There's his butt. Is that all cute? That is so cute. This is why they call it the Juicy Booty Bigfoot. Isn't it cute? I patted his little hiney, and I mean, I pushed the polyfill down there, shaped it, and I'm like, there's the butt. I think these, like the cheeky turtle pattern, I think these are so cute. But the lady that did this pattern, she wrote such a great pattern. I've had no questions with it whatsoever. He has just gone together so easily. I gave him 5 toes instead of 4. It made more sense to me. So I've got to finish his arms and whip on his little ears and then do a lot of shaping embroidery and facial embroidery. But I told David, because I've been working on a second one for me at the same time, I told David he could have this one to put in his Etsy shop. So Hank, Mr. Booty Hank, and he's pretty big. Like he's pretty big. And he took a lot of Chanel velvet yarn, and he's so soft, and polyfill. It was a lot to stuff him because he's all one piece right here. That was a lot. But David's probably going to put him around $35 in the Etsy shop, which is not bad because the lady that makes this pattern, I think she sells them for like $65. Crochet is expensive, but I couldn't justify paying $65, so I put a price on that I could justify because David was like, I don't know how to price them. So he's gonna be probably around $35 in David's shop, and he should go up tonight or tomorrow whenever David can take pictures of him. But I should have him done. I've left my string in there and put a lock stitch there because I'm fixing to put his arms on when I get them done. But his face, embroidering his face and stuff, I'm going to really take my time. It's basically a simple face, but I'm going to take my time and do it really well. He's so cute. But this is like probably the catfish in this is one of my favorite things that I've ever done. He's adorable. He's adorable. This is probably my favorite thing I've done. He's so cute. He's so cute. And that little butt that just cracks me. Now I want to put a butt on everything I make because that's just funny. That's just funny. I don't care who you are. That's funny. Oh, I get a thumbnail. Cheese. Let's see if YouTube works. We'll see if it works. They say to do that and it works. I think he's cute. So I'm going to try to finish him. If the world will stop moving, I'm going to try to finish him really quick. I do have a bean paste brown coming, and I thought, ooh, that would be pretty to make a girl Bigfoot. Put a bow on her head and give her a little booty, but give her like an hourglass shape, do a few more decreases and maybe a few more increases at her butt, and then make a Hank and maybe a Hilda. I don't know, but I thought that could happen, and he might have a girlfriend, so I may make a female one. I thought that'd be cute. I thought, yeah, we can give her a big old booty and I can just shape her a little bit better. We won't do any cleavage or anything, but I'll shape her a little bit better. I thought that would be a really cute idea, so I thought, yeah. I cannot stand to be idle. I like to be going and doing. I was used to working so many hours, and now when I'm sick and down in the bed, I'm sick and down in the bed, and I understand I just have to shut down and let my body heal. But if I'm up and going, I would rather just be busy doing something, creating something, reading something. I got my Electricity and the Human Body book in. I've started it. It's by Frinkles. It's got a long last name. I'll update you about that later. I'll probably finish it when I get back down to Mom and Dad's. I'll sit on the porch and read. I've been sitting on the porch and crocheting or reading for a lot now. I got that book in. I've got a lot going on, but I like to be doing stuff. And I still have to keep up with the psychology stuff just in case they change the online mandates for counseling. My hopes may never come to fruition, but I'm hoping. I try to stay aware, hyper aware and stuff. Oh, and then I sent Sabrina a birthday present the other day, and I've got a birthday card for her. I sent my mom a Mother's Day card, even though I had to get there about 5 minutes before I pulled the drive. I bought them canvases of them with the great-grandbabies from our trip. So I gave them to them last week because I knew I wouldn't be there on Mother's Day. But I'll be the day back. I'll be there the day after. I'll be back the day after. God, Elizabeth. So I got them their stuff already. But I've got Sabrina a birthday card. And it says, happy 29th birthday from your 110-pound friend. Hey, listen, friends are supposed to make you feel good. And then I got my dad. And listen, if you get politically touched and you're a pansy, you can check out for a minute now. But I am probably more of a libertarian than anything. But y'all know my dad. My dad is very loud about his political views and stuff. And he does not like liberals. Of course, he calls his chicken coop the lazy Democrat chicken coop because he says they don't lay enough eggs for what he has to feed them. They think they have to be kept. So I got him a Father's Day card that I'm going to fill out. It says, Dad, no matter what life throws at you, at least you didn't raise a liberal. I got that one waiting to go. And then I had Kim another card, and I got sick. So she got her presents and stuff, but I had another card, and I didn't get to send it. And it says, on the day you were born, the stars were perfectly aligned. Look at the stars. I'm a stinker. I'm a stinker. So I'm going to get Sabrina's card out to her, but I sent her a little something for her birthday, just a tiny little something. And I'm working on a dream catcher for her because I got the Cinnabarian, and I put mine on a bracelet. I got the Cinnabarian. Oh, I love to irritate Sabrina. I imagine she'll be visiting soon as time allows, because normally about this time of year we get really itchy to see each other. So I imagine she'll be visiting soon. I don't know if we'll do the visit down the hill at the cattle farm or here. I don't know which she would prefer, so we'll talk about that. I like to buy that. Yeah, Margaret. And I. Hey, if it's not going to make you laugh, I'm probably not going to send it. And so I like to make people laugh. So, but I got her, because Sabrina and I, we always, Bobby Hill, that's my purse. We had a funny when I was making that gnome that one day. And I said something, I sounded like the Bobby Hill, that's my purse. And we all laughed about that. And then me and Sabrina have made a joke about that. And so when we see each other, we'll be like, you're my purse. And so that we tell each other, you're my best friend, you're my purse, And I found I found a mug that said something to the effect of, there are lots of fish in the sea and you can find lots of best friends, but you're my octopus stuck to my face for life. You're my octopus. So I sent her that mug. She's probably trying to brain vacation. Bless her heart. I don't know if it's possible for her. If y'all know how much she does, I don't think it's possible for her. She tries, and sometimes she has to slow down and try to give her body time to heal, because her body's like mine. It takes bouts where it just doesn't function correctly. Just too much hits it at once. And lots of times when something happens, we'll be like, did you feel that? And she's like, yeah, I've been geared up for that too. Colin. Have you seen, Dr. Shane, have you seen the giant squids that they're crocheting that take like 80 hours? No. I have patience, but I don't think I have that much patience. No, I don't. No. I feel bad though, because yesterday I had a really bad handwriting day, and when I filled out Mom's card to put it in the mail, my hands were not working. It looks like a third grader wrote it. And I used to have such beautiful handwriting. Like everyone in the court system would be like, your handwriting is so beautiful. I'm like, I know. Thank you. I try really hard. And now it's like a third grader's handwriting. It makes me mad. Use the work van. Oh, Colin, you are a good life all the time. It's kind of lonely when you're not here, Colin. We miss you. We know there's a gap. There's a void. You leave a void when you're not here. You really, really do. You really, really do. So anyone that has joined in that's being quiet in the background, thank y'all for joining in. If you don't care, hit the like button so that YouTube knows I'm real. David is still fussing with them. He sent another email in because I tried to do the AdSense thing. We've been trying to clear that up. He's been having a hard time understanding it, so I've been trying to do that. He sent another email again last night. I've been trying to teach him how to take care of it on his own. So he's still trying. He may get monetization. I don't know. I think he's going to do some videos this morning. He's out cutting firewood this morning from storm damage that came through last summer. So he might do a video for ends of that. The man is a worker. If y'all know how hard he worked, he came home yesterday and I thought he'd overdone. I was like, you need to sit still for a while. Oh, and yesterday I got the trellis over Oscar and Momo's grave. Moses, I got the trellis assembled and over their grave. I don't have anything planted yet, because it's still in the 40s here at night again. I'm hoping all my seeds don't get pinched. It took another cold spell, but I got it put up. Night shift is rough. Well, I don't know. It's kind of what you get used to, but you do feel like you're like separate from the world when you work night shift. You really do, because you feel like you don't get to join in the land of the living. I used to do night shift. It was not fun. I used to take care of a severely autistic man that was nonverbal and aggressive, and I did night shift, and that was a job. That was a job. Say borax? Is that what you said? I know. I still miss Oscar too. I sit there and I'm like, Oscar, honey. I'll talk to him. I'll be like, Oscar, honey, I miss you so much. I dropped something the other day in the kitchen. I was like, I don't have a dog to yell anymore, because normally I go Hoover and he'd come eat it. And I was like, So, and I think, I don't know, I'm going to be out of pocket with Mom for the next couple of weeks. So we were going to do Hondo here again for the weekend. But now with Mom's health and the appointments next week, and I may not be back for a while, I just don't know. And he was in shock, y'all. It was bad. He was in so much shock. He just shut down. He shut down. He wouldn't eat or drink. It really worried me. I mean, he was severely shocked. It was the first time he was away from his pack, his mom. And normally it takes about 3 days for him to acclimate. But I think if I kept him 3 days, I think his kidneys would have shut down, because he was not eating or drinking. He was in shock. He shut down. And he would just, anytime you had to take him out to potty, it was such an event to get him out of the house and back in that we'd have to start all over again. So I just don't know. I need something that's going to be able to go with me and acclimate easily. And I'm concerned that maybe he's not going to be able to do it, but he's so beautiful. He's such a beautiful dog. Such a beautiful dog. So his brindle stripes are so beautiful. And he's a really good size. He's big, but he's not too big. He's big enough to be a little bit of a security blanket for me, but I just don't know. Yeah, Oscar was a once in a million. I mean, he was a good. I've had really good dogs my entire life, and I'm really picky when I get good dogs. And there's been a family that Dad knows has been like, we've got a blue heeler. You can have the blue heeler, and that's tempting, because that blue heeler is already house trained and very social, and a smaller blue heeler that can go with me, fit right into the farm, be good here. But I want to give Hondo a chance, but with my schedule and with Mom's health and where I'm going back and forth, he had such a hard time just being here. I don't know how he'd do at another place with also new animals he's never seen, cattle. I don't know, bears, coyotes. I don't know. So we're going to take it slow and see what happens. And I told the family with the blue heeler, I said, I've got to give this dog a chance first. I said, I really just am bonded with him. I've wanted him for a year, and I said, just let me try it. Let me try it. Cute rabbit? No. I miss Oscar so much, though. I do. I miss my little Oodie-po. There'll never be another one like him. Never. And when I was putting the trellis down, I moved this little memorial wind chime. and I straightened up his little, he's got a little solar rock with a puppy angel that glows at night. Of course, Moses has got his big cross. And I'm going to try to find rock down at Mom and Dad's on the farm. There's rock on the edge of the pastures where they've thrown them in the fence line for years. Just have to watch for snakes. I'm going to try to bring back a little bit of rock every now and again and put a rock circle around that and turn it into a very big, kind of like garden, but where I can put a little seat under the trellis and it has something growing up the sides. I'm thinking about putting a big clematis vine there that will stay there in a tub and grow each year. But I want it, you can sit under the arch and be exactly between Moses and Oscar. And I thought, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to start looking for those really pretty fieldstone and bring some of those back. Oh, I can't have two. I can't take two with me everywhere I go. Lord, no. It's going to have to be one. But he is so bonded with his pack, I don't know if he's going to do well. I don't. And I don't want to cause him stress, and I don't want to harm him. And so I'm very sensitive to that. So when he shut down the other day, I was like, I'm not pushing him because he's not drinking, he's not eating, and I don't want to. His kidneys are very sensitive. Dogs' kidneys are very sensitive. And I immediately called Kim and I said he needs to be back with the pack, so he'll eat and drink. And we were going to try to do a few more visits and get him used to it. But with Mom's health now, we may have to wait. And I see why Kim has kept him, because he is a big love bug. He's sweet as he can be, but he's just, he's not ever known anything different, so it's going to be hard for him. Oh, Margaret, that's a good idea. I like to put rock. I like to put like natural edging on stuff. So, and that's what I've been thinking. I thought about doing a wattle fence, which is willow bent around the post, and making it an elevated bed. And that makes it harder for whoever weed eats and mows, though. So I thought, I'll just do a rock one. It's easier to bump the weed eater up against and keep clean. And then I could just put down a lot of weed block in it and a lot of mulch, and make it its own space, but not make it super difficult for the person that has to mow around it or weed eat. Which weeding will be David. Sometimes I mow, but right now our mower died, so we're paying David's brother to mow right now, and we'll probably do that the rest of the summer and then buy something next year. Our mower, we sent it in to be fixed, but it's so old, the frame. They're like, Jonah and his grandpa, they have a shop, and they were like, it's not worth it. So we're just going to buy a zero turn next year. I don't want to. I don't like to buy anything because it bothers me till I get it paid off. But you have to, property this big, you have to have a mower. So we're going to have to, and we had that one for 20 something years. We had it for 22 and Dad had it for 3 before that. So it's 25 years old. Been a dandy. But it's time for a new one now. Of course, we did regular maintenance on it. So that's why it lasted as long. We did regular maintenance, kept it up under the shed, out of the rain, took very good care of it. But man, I don't want to have another payment on something. But you have to have a house of a mower to live where we do, because we have the barn lot and the house. And then the woods down to the creek, we just leave wooded. So we like that barrier between us and somebody else. Really? Colin, that's neat. That's neat. And we don't have any here, but when I lived down toward Nashville, the farm I used to live on, they had an old slave fence, old rock wall slave fence. And the owner was wanting to move one of them and open up the field. And I was like, don't you touch this. I was like, the cattle will follow it and find a gate. I was like, you got to think about the people that made this. And I wouldn't touch it for the world. And I don't think you ever touched it. That's neat, Colin. That's really neat. Isn't it amazing some of the stuff that they did back in the day that they swear no one can do now, like the architecture, especially the honing of the rocks and stone and the precision cuts and the juxtaposition of the heavy stones and how they don't know how it's like they lost the skill. And you're like, sure, how do we lose a skill? But if you look at stuff now, we've made stuff so easy with technology that a lot of the old timey skills have been lost. A lot of sewing, a lot of handiwork, those skills are being lost because we've been robotic for so long. We forgot the human component to it. So I see how skills can be lost. At the same time, I'm gonna call bull crap on the architecture, because you would think that they, would keep those skills alive somehow. Someone would have to have the knowledge, of that building. Oh, I definitely will. The two towers. Okay, I'm gonna call that baloney, but I know it's probably said else the other way. I'll check that out. The two towers of. I'm sure that sounds very much nicer in Italian tongue. Bologna. I'm gonna call it two towers of bologna because I'll remember it. I'm gonna name it the Oscar Mayer Wiener Towers. That's how my brain works. I create links, and that's how I remember things. My teachers hated me for it because I did very good on tests because I could link things easily and I would automatically remember. My bologna has a first name. Oh, Lord. Somebody asked me the other day if I could speak another language, and I said, well, yeah. I said, I've worked for enough people. I can hack it out. I said, but I can even speak Japanese, all because of a Queen song. And I know what it's saying. Now, can I speak it? No. Like, converse it? No. But I can say the words. Yeah, the stone fences in Kentucky and Tennessee and parts of Georgia and Alabama, they are gorgeous. I don't see how people come in and do away with them because the history and the sentiment and the emotion there. I couldn't. I don't know, Colin. I mean, there are pretty places over here, but it's like my place is a pretty little patch of land. In the winter, it looks kind of drab, but when everything's blooming in the summer and the fall, it's gorgeous here. But my neighbors, it's like Sanford and Son. It's sometimes it's like, why do I even try? Why do we even try to make my little cabiny redwood home look cute when you turn your head either way and it's awful? I need to finish the porch on my barn so it looks normal, but that's all we like to do over there. But it's just like, why try when nobody else seems to be trying? My homeowner's insurance and the worth of my home has gone down almost $8,000, and it's completely due to the people that have moved in and the jumble they've created in the land adjoining us. So there for a few years, we were hard pressed to put any money into this place because we were like, it's not worth it anymore. It's not paying off. Now we just make it satisfactorily pretty every year. But we're like, big plans just gonna have to stay on. We've even got electric, septic, and water on the barn lot. And we thought about doing a little tiny cabin and doing like an Airbnb. But then the neighbors moved in and junked everything up so bad. It's like nobody would want to stay here. Before they might have wanted to. It's cute, and it's a little hidey hole where you think you're in the middle of nowhere, but you're not. You're pretty close to everything. And so we were thinking about doing a little Airbnb, a little tiny cabin. And we tossed that around for a few years, and then the neighbors just jumbled and made such a mess, and the neighbor up the road made such a mess, and it was just like nobody would want to stay here. And like the pizza boy that we used to have a pizza delivery service, he said that our home was an oasis in a pile of shit. And I said, thank you, I think. But he was like, he's like, you wonder where you're going? He said, but it's pretty when you get here. And I'm like, I know, buddy. Oh, I'll check that out, Colin. Have you ever noticed that a lot of the parks, national, federal lands and stuff like that, they're a little questionable. Like you kind of go, Like when you have so many more disappearances there than where people live. I know more people visit, but you think on the daily, more people probably go disappearing where they, where they're actually living 99% of the time. Anomalies within the land itself. Especially Yellowstone. I got some massive questions about Yellowstone. I'll just say that, okay? Massive. But a lot of the state parks around here in the federal lands, it's weird. It's weird. The way they get these federal lands, like Cades Cove was the land grab. A lot of people don't know that. Cades Cove is beautiful. I understand why the people settled there. It is a honey hole in the middle of very rugged land. It's gorgeous. It just calls to you when you're there. It just makes your heart sing. And they wanted that land. And they got it much in the way I think they're probably going to end up getting a lot of North Carolina land. Just wait for that one. I called it back when Helene hit. Just wait. It's going to occur. Also, the spring thaw is occurring in North Carolina, and they're finding a lot of people getting plucked up by the property. So land, when a big flood happens, the organic material goes down, and it doesn't really get to compost because it's kind of in a locked, layered, unhappy place. And then the freeze hits, and so everything kind of stays. Nothing really gets to decompose, and it gets locked there before it gets done with it. And then when the spring thaw happens, that warmth comes up, the fluid, the moisture, everything starts to be organic and and it pushes material up. And so they've already found several people that it's pushed up. And a lot of them were so deep and buried so deep and so cold over the winter that they're in better shape than the people they were finding months after that were on top. It's not nice to know, but that's how it's happening. Yep. The anaerobic stuff. It's the air, the fluid, the moisture. It has to be the perfect storm for certain things to decompose, for organic material to go through its process. And so when it gets locked in that sludge away from air and then it freezes, it's kind of stuck. It's in a stasis mode. And so the spring thaw has really made a lot of organic material start to bubble to the top again. So they're finding a lot of people, sadly, with the spring thaws that are occurring. Not as many as I initially thought. I still think that there's a huge deposit by Lake Lure and a huge deposit on another where the hollers kind of make a little funnel. And I don't know if they will ever try to reclaim those because I'm sure they've got to be 50 foot deep under mountains that came down with them. But they are having some pretty monumental finds this spring in North Carolina. It's really sad. Yeah, Chelsea. Yeah, they did eminent domain, and they allowed the people in Cades Cove. The houses could stay until the last family member actually actively living there died. And the last guy that lived there lived in a blue house on the far side of the cove. He had bees. He had a lot of beehives. And I remember going through the cove when he still lived there, and you could stop and talk to him, a little old man, sweet as he could be. And he would tell you they run everybody else out. But he was surly, and he stayed. He was a surly old man. He stayed. And he told everybody it was not what they wrote about. It was not as they had wrote it, that it was much more of a forceful, you need to leave. And the families fought to, at least get the approval for the families that lived there to live there until they passed away. And then it would be assumed by the government. So he was the last guy that lived there. He had a little blue house. And if you go around the cove, past the visitor center, all the way back through, and you get, there's a cabin there that's got a little barn behind it, and it's right through the cut across road they put there now. And then his was right past that on the right up there, and you can still see the spot where the home place was. If you knew where it was, but it still looks like an odd spot. You can tell if you know what a home place looks like, where the house has been demoed. It looks like a home place. That's where his house was. Sweet man, but he was like, it was a land grab. And he was like, I refuse to leave. I was like, good for you. So he lived there until he passed away, and then they immediately demoed his house. That's the same way. Yeah. Thank you, Colin. Yeah. But that's the same way they did Del Hollow Lake in my area. We have entire communities flooded, and they said they would move the graves. They didn't. They said they would move the people in the graves. They never did. they told the families that all this is going to be done. It would, it'd be taken care of. And then when it flooded, the families were like, well, where did you be? And they were like, oh, shucks. Don't, oh, shucks. Piece of crap. So people dive regularly down there. And when it gets really low on really bad years, you can look through it and see the buildings. They get like 10 foot from the top of the water. Sometimes they poke out. It's eerie. It's eerie. So I like to go to Willow Grove, which is it's about a 45-minute drive for me. I like to go to Willow Grove because it's a pretty area. It's a pretty spot geographically. Do I like to swim there? Because there's a whole dead community beneath you, and it just freaks me out. Just freaks me out to know that all that's still down there. It freaks me out. I need to get out and film more. I was hoping that I would be feeling better this year, and like I did a couple summers ago. But the girl that I got out and roamed with, she moved back to Ohio, but Kim would go with me. I took in to see Cal Logston's gravesite. The guy that they pinned a murder on, I don't think he did it, and they hung him. He was the last person hung in Jamestown. And he told him, he said, you're hanging an innocent man. And he put out this, before they hung him, he said, you're hanging an innocent man, and you'll know because it takes 3 times to hang me. And it took him 3 times. The rope broke twice. The 3rd time he hung, but he had told them that you'll know you hung an innocent man because rains will occur and it will flood as if you've never seen it. And he said 100 years from the date that I am buried, he said there'll be reptiles and swarms that, and he just put out this whole thing. I used to have a book about it. My family had an old historic legend book of the area. And sure enough, after they hung him, the Caney flooded and took out a lot of stuff. It's hard to flood around here, y'all, because the mountains, it normally floods way down from us, but it's hard to flood here. It took out bridges up the mountain. It flooded so bad. And 100 years from the date he was buried, and I remember this because I went to the elementary school. The elementary school is right by the cemetery. It's in the woods. It's kind of creepy. But I took you to Cal Logston's grave. It's back in my video somewhere. They shut down the elementary school because they had to call in like biologists from UT because there were copperheads and rattlesnakes, and they didn't know where they were coming from. There were so many. And so the biologists came in and they kept removing hundreds of snakes. And they said, there's got to be a den. There's got to be a den. They never could find a den. There were just snakes coming from everywhere. And in like 6 weeks, snakes coming from everywhere. And then it stopped. As quick as it started, it stopped. And I was sitting there going, it's been 100 years since we killed Cal Logston. And that was when I was younger. But even I knew that. I was like, Cal Logston. I used to walk that field during recess and pick purple clover to eat. That's how you know you're a hick. I would pick the purple clover to eat because it's sweet. And I would get the biggest heebie-jeebies from the woods. I feel like somebody's watching you. But I was just in like 2nd or 3rd grade, and I'd be like eating my clover going, that feels weird over there. But yeah, I took into his grave in one of my videos, and I like to do more stuff like that. We've been to Pall Mall, Alvin C. York Park. We've gone to Cal Logston's grave. If I go anywhere with David, I try to put that on there. But I think David is thinking, since I had to stay through Monday, David is thinking about maybe taking me to the rugby event that's going on this weekend. And rugby's the old British settlement that just everybody disappeared. And I get the heebie-jeebies there too. I don't like it. Is that what you call them alfalfa flowers? Yeah, I love the purple clover. They're sweet. It's good. Colin, you take care. Thanks for popping in. We miss you when you're not here. Oh, I'm not afraid, but I just get the heebie-jeebies. I know. I have a sense that something else is going on. Something else going on. I'm one of them people. My granny one time said to me, I was like my papa's people. And no one would ever tell me what that meant until the other day I heard Mama talking with a friend and saying that Papa got those heebie-jeebies, weird feelings, and had dreams too. And I was like, because for years no one ever told me that. And like just in the last 3 months, I was sitting there when Mom was talking to her friend, and they started talking about stuff like that. And I was like, That's what she meant. And then Mom was like, oh, yeah, yes, it is what she meant. And I was like, I'm almost 47, and I finally figured it out, but that's what she meant. Oh, thank you, Colin. My Bible always opened up to Ephesians 6:12. I knew life was going to be hard. Oh, Lord. You need to show us some of that, Colin. I will try to get out more and show you more stuff. Because we have some really beautiful places in this area, but the poverty in the middle of it all is very distressing. Because it's like you just look at this rich land, and you know that the people here are rich too in certain ways, but the poverty just smacks you in between the eyes, and it's the juxtaposition of what you know was there emotionally, spiritually, and then what you see physically. It just doesn't jive. It's very difficult to look at. Very. Oh, I hear a siren. They had 2 helicopter hot loads the other day because the only time anybody flies over my house is the life flights. And my house jiggled for an hour and a half because they kept coming back. And I thought, wow, it's a busy day. We don't have a hospital. So if anybody needs anything beyond just a very easy, trauma center, they have to fly them out. So everybody here has the health flight insurance because 99 times out of 100, you're going to be flown out. If you have like a bad car accident or a big life-threatening, so everybody here gets flown out. We're just isolated. And the last guy that bought our hospital, he put it in a lot of debt, moved to the islands, and is hiding from warrants because no one will extradite him, and it's in a tax lien issue, and nobody can purchase it because they don't want to pay the taxes on it to open it back up. So our hospital's just rotting. So we have to go an hour or more away to go to another hospital. And he's from like Ecuador, or he was a big rich guy from like Central or South America, came here and swore he was going to do great things, and then all he did was basically use the land as a money funnel and get it in tax lien issues and disappear so he could be extradited and hide from the warrants, and ruined a small county's hospital. And the odd thing is that it's happened to about 6 communities in about an hour and a half driving distance from my area. Sad. It's sad what people will sit around and think up to do to other people. I have never been so bored that I have sat around and thought about things to do to other people. Have y'all? I've never in my mind, it wouldn't even cross my mind. I've sat and thought, I need to plant next year's garden like this. I need to rearrange my living room like that. But I've not sat and thought, gee, if I could just do this to this community, I could make this much money. And never in my life. It seems to happen a lot in Appalachia. Of course, the government is they gave a great game plan with the coal mines on that one. And how they kept funneling aid to Appalachia, but the aid never got here. Yeah. We've been the nation's whipping boy for as long as I can remember. And you can see that in such a in your face way with what happened in North Carolina last year. Sadly. Oh, I hear a vehicle. Are you in the wrong place? Because you don't look like you belong. You must be dropping somebody off over there. Anyway, yesterday he moved a big RV over there. Listen, I don't mind that he lives in an RV. What I mind is that he's not even trying to clean up any of the trash the firefighters drug out. He's adding to it, but he's not trying to clean it up. And it stinks. All the clothes, everything that was in the home, it's rotting and it stinks. And thank God I'm mostly upwind unless a storm comes through. But when I walk to get my mail and that's the closest I get to that property, it stinks. It stinks. Like a stagnant mud hole in the summer when it's not rained. You know that smell? It's frustrating. It's very frustrating to try to do so much. Yeah, I feel you. Yep. That's exactly what I was doing, and it's so sad because they think if they do it to Appalachia, and it is. It gets them less noticed and less likely to get them charges, and they don't want to punish them as much as if it had happened in an urban setting where lots of people knew about it, and it would cause more of an uproar. Makes me mad. Who is that? Okay, now I'm curious. I don't know who that is. Should we go sit on the porch? I wonder if they'll freak out if I pull out there with a tripod. I mean, I'm okay with that. Y'all okay with that? I'm out of water. You can go freak somebody out? Let's go freak somebody out. I mean, I just want to know what they're doing. I can act like I'm taking crochet. Where's my yarn? Actually, I will crochet if I can find it. Where'd I put my yarn? Oh, goodness, when I hide things from myself. There it is. Never mind. I found it. I do have to figure out how to do this Bigfoot's hands. That's the next step. His hands are different from his feet. So I'm not sure how that's going to go. Hang on. We're going to go outside. Oh, my nose is running. Too many things to pack. Everybody keep your hands inside right at all times. Don't lock yourself out, Elizabeth. I don't know who that is, but they're just sitting over there, so we're just going to sit over here. This is really not unknown because I sit out here on calls with my grandbabies all the time, so this is not an unknown. No, we're just going to put ourselves right in the middle. Go untangle my wind chime. My wind chimes are doing okay. Sadly, that would be a good excuse, but they're actually doing well. That wind's cold. I don't know who it is. But I'll stare. I'm on my property. I can stare all I want to. You got neighbors I got. You got to kind of be nosy. You never know what'll happen. I'm going to start out and do one like the foot. And then maybe when I get in there and read the pattern, it will be like the foot. If not, I'll have to frog it. If my phone has enough battery, I may call the babies later. 1, 2, 3, 4. Crap. They're walking around. It looks like a caseworker's car. I mean, that's what the vibe it gives off. I don't know if it's true. That's the vibe it gives off. We just all be nosy together. Should have wore a sweater. It's cold out here. Oh, I should have wore a sweater. I'm walking back. I'm trying not to be too nosy. I'm trying to crochet more than be nosy. No, I'm not. Don't let me lie to you. I'm being nosy. Gotta remember how to do these. Okay. I need to go get a sweater. It's plumb chilly. I know what I can do. I can start out with my, let's start out with my four-toed foot. Four-toed foot. That's what we'll do. One shirt. Ooh, that wind is cold. He had a girl staying with him, and they had a huge domestic the other night. She packed up her crap and left, but I can't blame her. Back in the car now. Up, back out. 12, 13, 14, 15. This is hard to do. Can't do all this at the same time. Hey, she picked something up. Can you stay? You can stay. You picked something up. Stay. 2. Ben's calling the horses. Can you hear him? He's way over the other side of the... He's calling the horses up to feed them. That's cute. Oh, that's him with some other woman. How many women does he have? God. Women, pick better people. I did it. I'm so multifaceted. I can crochet, snoop, and everything all at the same time. Sal, can we swap? Can we swap? I need to brush up on my skills here. I know I do. No, I'm no Miss Kravitz. I really don't care, but this is interesting. My bird bath thing is trying to glurk, glurk, glurk. It's trying. I need to do one more. I think. I don't know. Maybe it's whoever he bought that thing from, and they just come over to see where he put it. I think he's with him, though. So I don't guess it's anybody I should worry about. I think they went in the thing. Stuff's been happening in this neighborhood the last 2 years. It pays to be curious. Oh, no, they're looking again. crochets are hard with doing everything. I could have watched from my camera inside, but where's the fun in that? Yeah, somebody that's brought him over here. You tell me he found a replacement girlfriend in a day. Where are these women? Where do you find them? And what do women see in that? Dropped off a little chicken coop looking thing too. I gotta turn it. Oh, it could have been. Yeah, it might have been. I don't know. You know, I'm amazed I got married twice, let alone once. I wasn't the nicest young lady. I was more of a. I had a really hard time finding a man because I was such a man myself. So it just amazes me when people break up in a day, have somebody else around, or can float two or three. I'm just not built that way. I'm sorry. My ex-husband was. That's why he's my ex-husband. People ask me how I lost my first husband in an accident. He tripped and found somebody else's vagina. Hit hard. Fell in a few more after that too. Thank God I got rid of him. Okay, now I gotta turn my toes. I mean, I don't have a problem saying I'll sit on my porch. I'm nosy. I actually really like neighborhoods where people are nosy because y'all look out for each other. You know if something's out of place. Give me nosy people. Criminogenic people? No, just give me nosy people. I don't want criminals. I just want nosy people. I like nosy people. We keep each other safe. Here's another vehicle. Man, it's turning into a metropolis around here. You know, the crows haven't been by this morning. We normally have 50,000 crows here, but they've not been by this morning. I put all those seeds out in Benny's, my little schnauzer's grave. And I put the climbing thing for them, and I went and checked the other day. None of them germinated yet. I'm like, oh man, I hope I didn't just waste all those seeds. I mean, they've got good soil there. I don't know. Maybe that cold snap got them. I don't know. I really hope not. Anyway, if something happens to me, that is a hatchback, small, smart looking car. White. Two-door hatchback. I mean, they'd be hard pressed to fit me in it to take me anywhere, but I'm fat, harder to kidnap. We've looked into it, Chelsea, and can I help you carry something? What are you? What in the world would you take from that place? As long as it leaves here, I'm really not concerned. We looked into it. We need a 10-footer, and we'd need about 20 panels, and that's a lot of money if we bought them one at a time from like Lowe's. If we built, it would still be a lot of money. But the sad thing is between us there used to be a U driveway because it used to be one piece of land. and they strip mined it, and they used this part to park the machinery when they were strip mining it. And so when they lotted it up, because it used to be farmland, when they lotted it up, the first lot they put here, they put the house where they used to park the machinery. Well, that means that where that machinery and stuff parked in that old shed used to be, where they parked the big machinery, it is packed right over there like concrete. So I don't think a rental one would do. You'd have to get somebody that had a big old honking auger. A big old honking auger. So me and David kind of was crunching numbers. But now here's the thing. If his freaking employers don't start becoming better people, we ain't never gonna. I mean, we notoriously live next to ruin because of being in Appalachia. You don't get good jobs and good employers in Appalachia. But normally we keep a little cushion between us and ruin. But with his last employer, that man is taking us for everything. So we'd been trying to build back up cushion while still maintaining the property. Of course, and then I'm half the time down the hill. It's scared that that won't be scared to death if David come home looking like a wild man after cutting wood all day and walked out of his vehicle, and he scares people. He looks like Grizzly Adams. When he comes home with dead things on his vehicle, that helps. That helps a lot. Normally keeps people in check quite a bit. The little boy Ben that rides the 4-wheeler around here, he was terrified of David. He thought David was like, he's like, he looks scary. And I was like, oh, he's a big teddy bear. I was like, I'm the main one. I dropped my yarn. Oh. As long as they're taking stuff away, I don't guess I can fuss too much. Mirrors are cheaper. Just put a big mirror. Oh, I wanted to put a big panel just between us and the house, and on the back of the panel, paint one of those like they sell those. I saw that with Jesus. I wanted to paint that on the back of one, just so they knew every day. I know they're on a mission. They must be hauling stuff out of there. They ain't doing nothing I'm concerned about. But now I get a look at an old RV trailer, an old rotted chicken coop, a storage unit that's about a foot off my property line, which is illegal. I'll show you. Hang on, let's go in. I'll show you. Yeah, well, I'll stand at the door for just a second. Let's just look. Okay. Okay. So do you see how close they put that on my line? That's illegal. It's got to be 6 foot at least. So because of my homeowner's insurance, I now have to deal with that. I don't know how I'm going to broach that topic. I know they ain't got a penny to the name, but the company that lugged it there should not have lugged it there because that's illegal. And the company that put it there knew. It was a company that sold it to them. I don't know what I'm going to do. I need an island to live on. I want an island. This used to be a really nice place, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. Anyway, I got another foot done. I love this pattern. I cannot tell you how much I love this pattern. Do I like how much yarn it takes? No, but I love the pattern. Where did I put another foot? It takes a whole heck of a lot of yarn. But I love the pattern. And nine times out of 10, I've got 2 different colors hooked to it at all times because the color changes. And so you're working with 2 things of yarn, color changes. And so you have to sit still and work on this one because you're dragging around 2 things of yarn everywhere you go. But I love this pattern. I dropped it. I really do love this pattern. My nose is red. Oh. So I don't know. Maybe he got a new woman. I don't know. Maybe that's somebody that's buying something. I don't know what you'd buy over there, but they ain't doing anything I'm concerned about. And as long as she's packing stuff out of there, hey, honey, stay and pack a lot of stuff, please. Take as much as you want. Because I'm tired of looking at it. And I really thought about just getting a line of deer fencing, just getting a row of deer fencing that's like 8 foot, sinking in big long T-posts that we used at the hunting lodge, and then putting that 8 foot deer fencing up there. It'd be expensive, but not as much as making a whole fence. And then just planting those thornless rose bushes and morning glories and just hiding it that way. I'd rather look at a wilderness eating fence than that. Which is kind of my nightmare, a fence like that. But listen, I'll take what I can get at this point. That would be prettier than looking at that. And it's sad to say that, this is what bothers me, but it really bugs me when I put so much effort, and I've lost so much money on this place. So much money on this place. And it's frustrating. And just from somebody else's neglect, we've lost so much money on this place. We had bankrolled a lot of money on this place the first 10 years we lived here. And then with the other people that moved in, it just got, they just tore down their properties, and heirs kept lowering in worth. We've had this thing paid for 3 times. We redid once to redo the roof and to build the barn. Got it paid off again. And then my daughter got into the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. Child couldn't do community college. But she got in and she wanted to go, and she put in for like 30-something scholarships. Didn't get in none of them. All 7 kids got over $750,000 in this county to go to school. I said, are we only sending 4 kids to school? Because these kids got a free ride, and then they would get scholarships on top of the free ride. And I'm like, why? Because if you get a full ride scholarship, you can't then use another scholarship. They don't cash it out. It just makes the other one moot. So why don't we have an oversight committee to make sure that kids that are going to go to school get this money spread out correctly instead of being wasted? Oh, the community had an uproar that I said that. Made perfect sense to me. I don't know what everybody's fussing about. But she didn't get any scholarships. Girl had a 96.7 GPA in high school. Didn't get any of the scholarships she put in for. But now boys that played sports but didn't have the GPA, they got it. So she wanted to go. She's wanting to go veterinary medicine. She wanted to be trained by UT. I understand. They got a name for that. Well, we just went and put the house back under. And so now we have like 14, 15 payments left. And we're seriously like, after that, should we just try to sell it and cut our losses? I mean, just look at it as it served its purpose and let it go for cheaper and start over. But then I don't want to start over. I shouldn't be made to start over because other people are just sorry. But they don't sit and think that they're ruining somebody else's worth because they don't even understand things like that. They don't understand property value, obviously. So I don't know. I may sound like a snob sitting here saying it, but listen, when you get in the real world and you're responsible for land, life takes on a different perspective, and you think about your property and how other people view it, and if you're hurting somebody with what you're doing with your property, if you're hindering your neighbor, if you're causing them harm. I think about things like that. We've had storm damage before, and we've been like, let's get that cleaned up. That is not anything I want somebody to stare at. We cut down huge, we had those golden Jew bushes at the end of the trailer. We cut those down, and they've got big root systems that we're going to dig up. And I've told David, you're going to have to get those dug up so I can put my weed block down and cover that up. I can't stand to look at it. But I know not everybody else does that. Dan Haggerty. Am I just a strange person, or do y'all think like that? Or is that just weird? I don't think it's weird. I don't know. Maybe I grew up being too much of a goody two-shoes. I don't know. But I mean, I would hope that anybody that lived in a setting where you do have to be next to somebody, you consider the worth of their property and how you're augmenting it. Because y'all, it's been heck. It's been heck for us. We barely got enough to get her through 2 semesters of UT, because it had devalued so much. Do you know, or 2 years of UT? Do you know how much it cost a semester at UT? Good God Almighty. So I spent the rest of my retirement to get that child into college along with that. I mean, she graduated with a 4.0 and, she's a surgical veterinary tech. Of course, she just had the twins, so she's off right now, but she's a little worker bee. And I knew she'd do well, and it was, an investment in my child, and that didn't bother me at all. But it's absolutely amazing. It's amazing for me to see how people are they just don't value anyone else's existence anymore. I stained mine again last year, but it took better in certain areas, and I'm picky like that, and I'm like, I need to restain it. I need to put a new frame around the kitchen window because it catches all the weather and it's looking rather beaten. So we're wanting to do new soffit on the side that catches the weather edge, just stuff like that. Yeah, you just notice stuff like that, and you're like, you want your land to be pretty. Oh, Chelsea, I'm afraid that's right. I'm afraid they are very isolated and just self-indulgent. And I mean, it doesn't bode well for the world, but I sit around, and even here where kids are raised very different, I still see a lot of that behavior. And, the internet could have done lots of great things, but one of the worst things it did was kind of mind meld the younger generation. And it took away a lot of those social, let's see, regional social, things you grow up with. And so, yeah, a lot of kids, instead of growing up with the values of their areas imprinted upon them, they grew up with the values of their online community. And well, guess what? That's about as useless as tits on a boar hog. These online communities, about as important as the G in lasagna, they just don't do anything to help. And so we've got kids that were raised by a fictitious online community, so they have no communal thought pattern. They think they're socialized, but they are not. They're so isolated. I worry about our next few generations coming up. I really do. Haley's trying to keep the babies very old school. They live next to goats. They keep chickens. They go outside to play. She's not watching a whole heck of a lot of TV. They're doing school, and even, they're just a year old, but they're already way ahead. I'm very proud of my daughter for doing that. Of course, I taught my kids sign language because we were bored. We lived on a cattle farm. We were bored. So we learned sign language and everything. But, hey, Chelsea being programmed. You see me do the remote control? Whoever has this on me, I don't like you. You're not a nice person, and you stop. I wish your battery would run down. And sadly, we've dumbed down society so much that a lot of kids will never know to question things that are going on that they should question. And that's how we lose. That's how we lose as a whole, as humanity. Hello, Nick. That's how we lose as humanity. They dumb us down, and then nobody cares, and nobody asks questions, and we're gone. We gone. Humanity lost it. I don't know. I know I'm very old school because I'm, raised in Podunk, and I was raised in a very old school way. I very much still in this area. The community church is still, the hub of everything, the heart of the area. And you don't find that other places anymore. And listen, if you ever do this pattern, don't use Chanel yarn, because when you have to do the back loops only, you will want to cuss. So if you ever do this pattern, do not use Chanel yarn, because then when you have to do the back loops only, because of this fuzzy velvet Chanel, you will want to cuss because they're hard to find. That's my word of advice to you. So that's the only round that makes me be like, why did I use this yarn? I plan to make one in worsted weight though, and just see what it looks like too. But yeah, when I grew up, it was still the community church was the center of the community. Problems were handled there. Lives were changed there. People were helped there. It's not that way at all anymore. And these kids today, they don't even really know what community is. They have an online community, not understanding that's fiction. That's not real. They don't understand that though. They think it's real. And so, we've got a whole couple of generations of kids that do not really know what community is. I don't mind if a kid has a phone. I mean, being able to communicate and call, especially if you're in a problem, is fine. I mind if they spend 23 hours out of the day on that phone conversing with other people that they don't know, or looking up things they shouldn't be looking up, or playing games that are taking away from, time that they could be putting on useful skill building and socializing that they still need to do as a young person. I have a master's in psychology. The way that the online realm has turned adults into juveniles again. So we've got a whole society of very juvenile people because they're not getting out and talking to people in their area. They're not having these normal age appropriate reactions and interactions with people because they're not having normal lifestyles. They're not getting out, and they're stuck online, and you just don't hit the milestones in an online, you just don't hit those growth milestones in an online nature. It is very, you're just very malleable at that age, and you should be out learning things because your brain absorbs them very quickly. They're not learning anything, and then their brain is solidifying, and then at 25, 26, after they should have learned these things and their brain is less apt to learn it easily, they get out there and then their brain is asked to learn all these new things, and and they're like, the brain's like, well, we're slow now because we already solidified. We thought we were building those bridges 10 years ago. Oh nope, sorry, we were playing online games. So, we've got a whole group of kids missing that golden time in their brain to really learn how to live in the world. And it's sad. And so we have, adults now that are 25 to 30 that are acting like juveniles because they didn't learn the skills at the appropriate time to handle what they're, running into at that age. And it's sad to watch people struggle. I used to work with kids that had those specific issues, and just, and you'd see the same thing every time. They just were not well socialized. It was easier for mom and dad to let the TV babysit them. That TV does not teach them the things that they need to learn emotionally. And what we're seeing is a society that's very out of touch emotionally with other people. They're very self-indulgent, very self-absorbed. They don't understand how energies play off of each other that builds a society and a community. It's just really scary to watch sometimes because you're like, oh gosh, you can see what's coming, and it's almost like it's done by design, y'all. Just to me, sometimes it feels like it's done by design to cripple humanity and make us very susceptible to the powers of people in control. Because, a humanity that's, very aware and very community oriented and very close would not allow some of the things that's happened in the last several years to occur. And so, that, you could see during all that back in the pandemic, you could see all the communities that were tighter knit and the ones that weren't. You could see the ones struggling and the ones that weren't. And my area didn't struggle like most other areas. We didn't have the hostile fights in grocery stores because somebody sneezed 7 foot away. We're much more able to handle being around people, because that's how we really actually spend our lives, is around people instead of online. So we're just losing a lot of skills as a, well, just as a group altogether. We're just losing those skills, and it's sad to see them not even care, but it's even more sad to see them not even know what they're missing. So, I'm disabled. I don't get out a lot, so I kind of use this as I try to reach out. And what I do is I reach out, and if you're concerned about what's going on in the world, I send you to the Synergy channel on Odyssey. The Synergy channel is PSINERGY. And at the Synergy channel, you will meet Miss Sabrina Wallace, and she is one of the most intelligent people I have ever met in my life. She is basically like a bonus sister to me. We've met, we spend a lot of time together. We visit at least once a year. She stays with me for a couple of weeks, and we talk about what's going on in the world and what we've witnessed. And working in the social services and criminal justice field, I saw a lot that made me go, excuse me. And we talk about that stuff. And she's just she understands the technical components to everything that's occurring. I can talk about the emotional and psychological components that are occurring and how it's augmenting mankind. And she's just a really wonderful person to go and listen to. The first few times you listen to her, you're probably going to go, oh my gosh, I don't understand what she said. That's okay. Hang on. It'll get it, it'll vibe. And pretty soon you'll be, researching and understanding topics that you did not know existed, but you now know are very important. So if you ever have that inquisitive mind of wondering, what exactly is going on, how do these things function, why are these things being put forth in this manner at this day and time, just go to Odyssey, the Odyssey platform, and go look up the Synergy channel, PSINERGY. And I'm kind of the last little beacon of hope out here, saying howdy to people, and the really curious ones, I send them that way. And that's why I'm still sitting here doing YouTube crap. Now, my husband would rather just do trapping videos and stuff like that, but I get on here specifically trying to tell people there's a lot more out there that you need to know about, and you need to go be curious. Really need to go be curious. Kids learn from parents. They learn from everything. Kids are a sponge. They learn from absolutely everything. So anything that a child runs into in its life, they're going to learn from. It's a parent's job to make sure that they run into positive things and positive so they run into positive things, and they have positive role models. Like when I was counseling the kids that were in under DCS contracts and juvenile justice contracts and stuff, when I was counseling them, one of the biggest issues they had was we would get to a part in the curriculum where they had to find a role model, a positive role model. And we would do role models on different levels, like in their homes, in their communities, and in the world. Most of them couldn't find a positive role model in their homes and their communities. And when they went to find a role model in the world, they would pick some really questionable people. And so I had to put forth a plan and say, listen, here's the rules. They can't have had criminal charges or convictions. They can't have spent time in jail. They can't have domestic violence issues. And this was for women and men. Do you know how hard it was for those kids to find role models, especially the young men? And it really got them to thinking. They would be like, wow, I didn't think this would, you give us this for homework, and we were going to discuss this over the next 2 weeks. I didn't think this would be this hard. And I'm like, I know. That's why it's a part of the curriculum. And in cognitive behavioral therapy when I counseled I supervised like the murderers and the very violent men, when we would come to the curriculum on portrayal of self in the community, they had no idea what that meant. They didn't understand how they affected their community. So we would have to break it down. And of course, if they had a victim they owed restitution, it was a little bit easier to break it down. But if they didn't, they really were like, I don't affect anybody. I don't. And I'm like, you know, the 12-year-old that takes the paper from mom to read the paper and sees who was in court and who was convicted of what. And, you know, you have a deeper reach than you will ever understand. And, you know, but they're just not trained to think that way because they never saw anyone think that way. So it's so important when you raise kids, you know, to make them aware that they're, you know, you're not the only person in the world, and there's a ripple effect to all behaviors, and, you know, there are consequences to all behaviors. You have to make sure that you're okay with that, you know, because that's going to be on you. And, you know, claiming ignorance only gets you so far. Criminal court judge really doesn't care if you're ignorant. He cares that he keeps seeing you. Yeah, well, I don't want them to be technologically illiterate, but parents need to have cyber nannies. You know, there's something being said about send them to a computer class where they learn the functions and stuff of the computer. They learn how to use programs and software and stuff, but don't give them 12 hours a day to peruse various sites on the internet, you know. There are positive ways to use the internet in your home. There are positive ways, especially the educational programs that are online, but, you know, really need time limits, and that needs to be boundaries set up where the child understands the boundaries. You need to kind of have a little written contract with your kid, you know, so they know what to expect when they get on the internet, what's appropriate, what's not, and how much time they're going to have and what they're allowed to do. Instead of hit it head on, have them find something that they want to do that's not appropriate and then have to have that conversation. Have it before. Let them know that the internet is not a replacement for society, that they still have to act and commit and interact with their area. They have to do real things. Community service is a great thing. Parents, community service is an awesome thing. Learning to serve others is a very big skill that everyone should have. You know, and a lot of parents just don't look at, they put more time into growing vines in their garden every year than they do their kid. They put more research into buying a car than having a child. There's my Bigfoot foot. I did this one with 4 to go with my other 4-toe one. Isn't that cute? I love this pattern. Unfortunately, I ran out of yarn, so I'm going to have to go get another skein. It takes a lot of yarn. A lot of yarn. I guess I'll probably call mom and chit chat with her for a minute, check and see how her health did last night. See if anybody else felt the earthquake that woke me up, about pitched me out of the bed. And then I may go ahead and start with this coyote fur mantle. That's going to be what I make next. Let me show you the coyote I'm going to make it out of. Hang on. There's my sweater I should have had on when I was outside. Isn't that something? Let me show you this coyote. Oh. I picked this one. Because he's got a lot of black that stands out. And he's got a really pretty tail, but he's got the dark spots that will stand out. And now I'm a big old heifer, but he's going to go over the shoulder of a normal sized person. And then when I cut him open, he'll have a flank come down farther. And then, of course, I'm a heifer. Okay. At a county fair, I'd be the blue ribbon heifer. So moo. But people are smaller, and he will latch actually under the other arm and have dangles and stuff. And so I don't know if I want his tail up here or if I want his head up here. But whoever, Dave, he has a hole. So I'll have to do some stitching if I want his face first. But I really, you know, some people like the face up here. And like I'm a heifer. Other people, he will actually mate around when I cut him up. But he'll mate, like, and he'll have the tail hanging, and then I'll turn his legs into dangles, and I'll put some beads and some other stuff on him. He'll look like a Viking fur wrap. And then somebody can wear him to a Renaissance fair. But I'll have to do a lot of sewing. I'm going to start out with a hand sewing, and then I'm going to transfer to Mom's industrial sewing machine as soon as I get back to the farm. Nick, it's very difficult to raise children. The balance now is harder for parents of any time frame, I believe, because children have so much information at their fingertips, but they don't know how to use it. They don't know how to process it correctly, apply it correctly, store it correctly. It's very hard for them to pick out what is important. And right now we're seeing children pick out important things that aren't important. So their effort, energy, and mind are going toward very disruptive things. And it's creating a disruptive lifestyle rather than them learning things that actually mold a positive society and a positive person within society. They're going toward a lot of the red flags instead of being held on a very prominent and good road. So that's why we're seeing society and have such issues now. And you add into that, and I counseled all kinds. I counseled people that had gender dysphoria back when it actually was in the DSM manual. It's no longer there because they don't want to hurt their feelings. That doesn't make any sense to me. But I mean, why hurt anybody's feelings if you're going to go about it anyway? Fuss on that for a year. But there were people, there are about 0.3% of the population that have an intersex hermaphroditic issue that requires a surgeon to fix where biology said, oopsie, it happens. They do benefit from transition. Other people don't in that same way, but they aren't structured to understand why they won't. And instead of, they're just told, if you feel this, follow it. That doesn't help a lot of kids that are struggling with what they're struggling with, because they will try to put an umbrella over what they're struggling with. They'll pick the wrong umbrella and then they've screwed themselves up. So if you're struggling with that and you think it's this and you pick the wrong umbrella, and then you change your hormones, you change your body, you sterilize yourself. Well, now we've got a lot of juveniles that were confused, and now as young adults have sterilized themselves, can never have a family, and normally will never have any kind of gratification in that area romantically of their life. And so we have very upset young adults that have no coping mechanisms that adults usually have. Okay, y'all get where I'm going? And also, when you start adding or taking away or augmenting hormones, you freeze the brain. It's just like drug use. When you use drugs, your brain stops. You freeze it. It's the same way when you start to tinker with the hormones and the chemicals in it. It stops. So at whatever age they started having these issues and doctors started tinkering, 13, 14, now when they came out the other side of it at 17, 18, 19, now their brain has to play catch up, and their brain can't catch up. So we notoriously have people that are 10 years younger than what the age they should be. That's another thing society's seeing now. We're seeing people that just can't cope with normal things going on. Like they can't watch the news. Well, you should be able to watch the goddamn news. You should be able to look at a constitutional republic having a democratic undertone voting process and go, there are legit ways to handle this and there are ways to not. You shouldn't go to the ways to not, and so we've made them all emotional flares because we took away a lot of the chemical hormonal sense that is built up in that time frame to where they learn to handle themselves and themselves in tune with society. We screwed all that up playing with all those things. And so now we've got adults that are now juveniles that wake up in an adult world but still think like 13-year-olds, and they can't compute and they struggle, and then they get mad because they struggle, and it just compounds. And we've got to stop playing God. We've got to tell people, hey, something, during the time in your life where you change the most every day, from 13 to 24, you change so much chemically, hormonally. Your profile every day is changing. Don't do anything that's going to change you during that time frame. Wait till you get to the other side. Then you're going to have all the skills, all the wrinkles in your brain, and all the hormones and chemicals you need to make a good decision. We've got to be more careful. And, and we are basically, let alone chemically castrating half the world, sterilizing half, but we're also chemically retarding half the world. I'm sorry, I have to say it. Because it takes away a lot of insight and knowledge and capability mentally that they're never going to get again, because it wasn't God at the time that their brain was able to compute it and put it to use. So the malleability at that level between 13 and 17, I think, is really being used as a scapegoat by the medical field, when actually what it is the time when they're supposed to absorb the most socially, compute it, makes sense as in relevance to them, and come out the other side an adult that can handle the world. They're using it for the wrong thing. I know, I grew up on a farm, so sex ed was a moot point. But yeah, I think any adult born from 75, 80 or before, we know that the world does not rotate around us. I'm a very small piece of manure on this big spinning rock, But sadly, a lot of kids raised today think that they are the end all be all, that their actions are going to somehow, you know, circumvent the globe and augment all of humanity. And these big grandiose schemes that it just shows you that we don't have the correct thinking profile within the brain that we used to, and that is because it's being applied in a way that is not natural and is not understood and needs to be researched more, because this social community is failing our children. Go back to your physical communities. Make sure your kids have good anchors in the physical world. They know people, they know elders, they have lifelines, they have resources, they have support systems. Make sure that they understand the world around them. Now, it's great to tinker on the internet and find resources for hobbies and stuff like that, but control what they see, because the internet still is largely unregulated. It's getting better, but it's largely unregulated. There are certain things that kids at those age ranges should not be thrust into, because they can't understand them. They are not mature enough. And handing a kid the ability to view mature things without the understanding to do so is like giving them a stick of dynamite and a match. They might figure out how to light the match and put the two together, but they don't understand what's going to happen at the end. And it's dangerous for more than just them. So that's my rant. I used to have to tell parents about this all the time. Free time is not great for kids. Structure is wonderful. Of all the juvenile justice kids that I had to help, the one thing they thirsted for was structure, and someone to keep them safe and provide structure. And even if you walked into the world and gave them rules and they were not used to rules, once they got used to you and knew that you also provided safety, stability, security, they were good with it. But they'd never had all of those together. So they rebelled. But when they found it all together and understood why it worked, they slid right in and did their work, and they were good. So, but it's hard for adults to understand, because, hey, listen, the last era of adults they barely became adults. And parents from this day on it's gonna be hard to find good ones. The world has just changed that much. It's gonna be hard for parents to really parent effectively, especially with external forces that keep coming in. I worry about the world that my grandbabies are going to live in, because my grandbabies are still very much old school. My kids are old school. My daughter is a surgical vet tech. She's going on to be a veterinarian. My son is an arborist and operates heavy machinery. We're still tool and break you back kind of people. And so they're, but they have a lot of their age group counterparts that don't understand them. They don't understand them. And it's sad, but it's because I raised my kids very, ground floor, be present in the real world. And you just don't see that anymore. It's sad. It's very sad. Okay, I'm going to have to start something else and work on something else, or find another skein of yarn. I really need to work on that Cody. Also really need to find me something to eat, because I've not ate yet today. The earthquake about lurched me out of the bed at 8:04 a.m. and I got off schedule. Oh, I got off schedule. But yeah, I've got to also need to fill this card out and get it stamped so the mailman can pick it up when he runs this afternoon for Sabrina. So, yeah, if y'all do go to Synergy on the Odyssey channel, be sure to tell Sabrina happy early birthday. I'm not going to tell you exactly when it is, but I'm just going to say we're close. Just tell her happy early birthday, and be extra kind to her the next few days. She is doing a service to y'all that you all use the gravity of which you do not understand. The social service fields and criminal capacity fields that I've worked in, basically forensic psychology for the prison system, is scary out there. It's scary, the quality of human being that is become the norm. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. And we have no one to blame but ourselves, because as much as we want to say someone else is pulling the strings, we are the ones sitting aside not talking about it, because it's taboo. We don't need to talk about it. Don't talk about that. How dare you ostracized me, you marginalized me, you oppressed me. Well, hey, if words can do all that, go be butthurt. Go be butthurt. I don't know what else to tell you. But you should be able to speak about what's going on in the world without becoming combative. It's very important that we learn to talk again, because if we don't talk about things, we can't change them. We can't debate them, we can't critique them, and we can't change them. Maybe that was Ben on the four-wheeler. I just heard somebody rift. Ben gets going on the four-wheeler, and every once in a while I'm like, I'll stand on my porch and do this to him, because his mom is working all the time. He doesn't have correct supervision. The other older sibling that watches him does not do a good job. And so when I see him get to drifting, I'll be like on my porch, and he'll be like, and he'll slow down. He's a sweet little boy, but he just doesn't have the parameters in place. And I shouldn't have to provide those, but when he's spitting gravels onto my property and I think he's going to wreck and break his neck in front of my house, I'm probably going to stand there and go, don't do that. Just because I care about the kid. But he knows better. We had to talk with his mom. We had to talk about him going Mach 90 without a helmet and taking a turn where he can't see what's oncoming, even though we're on a gravel into the road, that could kill him if he ran into somebody. And that's my fear, is I'm going to round that blind curve, even going super slow, and he's going to drift right into me, and that freaks me out. And so I'm like, Ben, stop it. And to be quite honest, he wasn't mad when I said it. He actually kind of bonded with me, and we've had a pretty good relationship since. He's a sweet little boy. He comes over every once in a while, wants to know if I've baked anything. But it's kind of made him latch on to me because I cared. He didn't look at it as me being get off my grass. He looked at it as, oh, you care about me. Because he was like, well, I don't put gravels in. I'm like, listen, I'll spit the gravels back out when I mow. What I'm concerned about is your brain smashed on the pavement. And he was like, oh, and I was like, yeah, I care about you. I don't want to see you get hurt. And the drivers cannot see coming around that tree, and you know better than to do what you're doing. And I said, if the law was called, you be having some problems right now, kid. I said, behave yourself. And so he now sticks to mostly in the pasture when he rides, but every once in a while he'll get out and fling some gravel. And I don't mind him having fun. Have fun, but do it in a way where you're not going to possibly harm somebody. I think every kid needs to have like a mule or a very mean little pony that they learn behavior, because a mule will hang on. If you treat them poorly, a mule will remember for 10 years and kick you when you least expect it. Pony will do the same thing. I learned how to treat things well because I grew up around livestock. They remember things. And you have to treat them well. And if not, they'll come after you. So I credit a lot of my upbringing to my mom and dad throwing me out there with draft horses and mules and cattle and going, if you're hateful, you're going to get cococked. So I don't know. I just learned how to look at everything and my relationship to everything and try to be a positive person and try to speak important things sensibly rather than emotionally. And it's very hard to find that these days. And I do note that when I find people that appreciate it, they thirst for it. So we do have a need out there in humanity still, where people want to find other people that care and speak with a caring tongue. They are just not the prominent percentage of the population anymore, sadly. But we find each other on places like this, and I'm so glad that Jen's found me. And y'all bring way more to my life than I think I bring to y'all's. But I do appreciate you spending time with me and going through stuff. I know that Ian's like the art that I do. I know Ian's like David's skills that he shares, and he's probably taking video for Ian's this morning. He's really learning to do a lot more on his own, which helps me. It frees me up to spend more time down the hill and to help Mom with her health and stuff that's going on right now. But if you want to see what my husband does, his Etsy store is Hillbilly Heart Decor. You can always go and check him out. You can watch his channel at Trapper Dave Waters. And if you have any questions, you can always drop a comment, or you can email me at watersworkload@gmail.com. That's all one. Watersworkload, all one word. Watersworkload@gmail.com. I never know what I'm going to create until I create it. I sit down and it just happens. Sometimes I have a thought process or a sketch in my mind, but sometimes it turns out and sometimes it doesn't. 9 times out of 10, it does not. So I've been working on a dream catcher for Sabrina, and I thought that I had one way to go with it. It's gone completely the other way. But I think that's what people need. Also, if you're having issues or you've got a child with sleeping issues, and you've heard about dream catchers and you're wanting somebody to weave you one, I do weave those. You don't pay me for my weaving. You just pay me for the stuff that I, like the fur and the beads and stuff like that I put on them. So if you're having somebody that's struggling with something like that and you think a dream catcher may help, you've read about dream catchers, I shut my house down when I weave. I only weave when I'm in a happy place. I use willow heartwood for the frames. I weave the way I was taught in the powwows by the elders. And I take it very seriously. I really do. So if something's going on and you need one personalized, with the stuff I put on, it's about $30 to $40. I make them to where they're big, but they're also small enough to ship easily. Basically, you pay me back for the twine and the beading and the bone and stuff that I put on them. I don't really charge for them. You just basically pay for what I build them from. But I don't care a bit to do those for people. So you can also email me about that, or you can just send a message through Hillbilly Heart Decor on Etsy. And if you have a fur question, you can send that directly to David on Facebook at Hillbilly Furs. So we're really easy to find. We're just podunk people, that just common sense podunk people. But we do enjoy reaching out and finding other common sense people to share things with. And it's nice to find like-minded people and to build these little communities online, because I really think that's what is missing online. I think that's what social media is missing, is a heart, is a soul. There's no communities with soul. There's no communities with expectations on others. It's nice to find communities like this where we actually care about each other, we keep in touch, and we actually help each other. So I think we have one of the best little groups on YouTube, because the YouTube streets are pretty mean. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Okay, with that being said, my stomach's growling. I'm going to go find me something to eat. I'm probably going to make a protein shake. That new thyroid medicine does not like me, and I don't like it. So we're gonna make a protein shake. And then I'm going to work on some more of my art. And the next time you see me, I'll probably be back down at the farm. So everybody have a wonderful Mother's Day. It doesn't matter if it was the person that birthed you, or the person that just gave you some skill sets for life, or showed you the ropes in the world. Somebody gave you help that was in a motherly role. Tell them thank you tomorrow. And remember all the people that teach you things that sometimes we don't appreciate in life. Reflect a little bit on stuff tomorrow, and make sure that you reach out and thank somebody for helping you become who you became, because it takes a lot of people to create a person. We have a lot of good people here, and I'm so glad when we, sometimes they throw me the algorithm and I have to go through the trolls, but we normally do find a few gems along the way as well. So we just have to sift for a little bit, just a little bit. But I appreciate you spending time with me, because I was just yapping. I really thought we'd have an aftershock and y'all would get to see it too. Probably says I turn the camera off, it's going to happen. I'd like to finish my nap, but I'm afraid I'll be flung right out at the bed again, so we'll just wait. If I hear anything on what it was, where the center was, I'll let you know. But yeah, interesting morning here in the Cumberland Plateau. It's wasn't like all the others. So, we've had 3 or 4 earthquakes that I can remember being that, punchy. This was punchy. It felt like an impact, because I about rolled off the bed. Normally we just jiggle for a little bit. This was a little bit different than the others. A little bit different. And considering I'm from the Cumberland Plateau with a lot of caves and underground water, and it's kind of strange when it happens here like that. So we'll see what happens, on the news and stuff over the next few days, and I'll keep you updated. And if it's super important, I'll come on and say something, or I'll leave a community post on the post page. Otherwise, you'll see me when I'm back down at the farm Monday. Also, Hank will be done later tonight, and he will most likely, the juicy booty Bigfoot, Hank the Bigfoot, he will be done later tonight, and David will have him put on Etsy tonight or tomorrow. So if you want to adopt a Hank, he's a pretty big Bigfoot. He's made out of chenille velvet yarn. Took quite a bit of time and quite a bit of stuff and a lot of new stitches. I love his feet. And he'll probably be in the $35 range. And for plushies, that's not bad for one this size. And this, when I get the embroidery work done and the body and face shaping, I'll have some time in him. But I can't keep everything I make. And since David buys my yarn, I feel responsible in saying, here, you can earn back some of the money you waste on me. So if you want to adopt Hank, Hank will be up for adoption by tonight or tomorrow. I'm going to finish him. Greenville? My brother lives in Greenville. He's Newport, outside of Newport. Oh, no. You may have to email me and tell me what your thought pattern is on that. Okay. My stomach's growling. I got to go eat. Thanks for joining me. The saga continues. I have a boring life, but there's a lot going on. It's very strange. Yeah, Del Rio, Greenville, Newport, that area. Yeah, they're very low. I mean, they're still high, but they're very low compared to the surrounding areas. They had a lot of water issues after Helene. That's what my brother had specific issues with. He also lost a friend that was doing boat rescues. That was very sad. It took him 5 days to find him. He got flushed down the Nolichucky. It was very sad. It's very sad. But they've about resolved all their stuff. But Matthew got so used to visiting so often because he had to stay up here during all that when all that was going on, that he likes to now come back through and visit. So I just get out of his way and come up here and let him visit. And I can't really go up and down the basement stairs too awful much at the farmhouse. So I could go sleep in the one downstairs, but it's very hard on my legs, especially if I'm struggling. So I just come up here on those days. And so I try to put all my doctor's appointments and stuff like that in the same week. And that way Mom can get Angie or Matt to sit with her. And then I've got that week free. And then I go back and I've got it covered. So we're getting a good routine set down as long as my health will hold. So toss up some prayers for my mama and her health. That maybe it's just a little speed bump we've hit. Oh, Sally, you're at the very end again. I'm so sorry. It's been a heck of a life. It really has been. I'm so sorry you bounced at the end. But toss us some prayers from my mom. Send Sabrina early birthday wishes. And be good to yourselves and others until I see you again. But I'll try to be back Monday down the farm. We'll do a farm ramble. Bye, guys. I can push a button, surely. Huh.